o'clock. I'll be back 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Hope to have your company then. Thanks to Donna Marie and Caroline for their help on the programme. Up next, Greg Hughes. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Rory. See you tomorrow. Thanks very much for that. It is 9 o'clock, just turned. It's time for a news update. Good morning, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Tensions flared at an Oireachtas committee meeting last night, during which representatives of the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority were questioned regarding the Killybegs fish weighing controversy. In his opening statement to the committee, the SFPA's Executive Chair Pascal Hayes was made to withdraw a controversial statement when he asked committee members to consider the array of potential motivations of operators critical of the weighing processes in Killybegs. During the hearing, the SFPA outlined its legal reasoning for insisting 5% of pelagic catches are weighed at the pier side, stressing it's part of a control measure agreed with Europe. Pascal Hayes says manipulation of prior systems of checks from the industry spurred the EU to introduce stricter measures.
The SFPA responded to increased understanding of non-compliance risk by enhancing its control focus on landings and weighing and strengthening the permit conditions to include, for example, CCTV feed to SFPA. Nevertheless, a clear sentiment existed of ready manipulability of such systems, with any such manipulation resulting in inaccurate declarations of the amount of fish landed and potentially fraudulent food marketing. This puts at risk the reputation of Ireland's entire sea fisheries and seafood processing sector.
Much more on that on our website, highlandradio.com. A Fine Gael TD says a border poll could be called at any time in the next decade and is urging government to begin preparations. Neil Richmond says now is the time to set up an Oireachtas committee to work through the detail of what a United Ireland might look like. He says the fallout of Brexit has changed everything.
I think we could easily see a border poll being held within the next decade. You know, the results of this Assembly election possibly don't allow for one, but it's not in our gift. It's down to the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland to decide, and indeed, as the Taoiseach has already said, we need to see clarity about what merits a border poll.
Green TDs Nasa Hourigan and Patrick Costello have had the party whip removed and they've been suspended from the party for 6 months. It follows their decision to vote with Sinn Fein last night on the party's motion calling for the National Maternity Hospital to be built on public land. It passed after government TDs abstained. The government's majority in the Dáil is now effectively reduced to 1. And the head of the UN says he's having intense contacts with Russia over fears of a global food shortage. General Secretary Antonio Guterres wants Moscow to agree to the export of grain stored in Ukrainian ports. The two nations together produce almost a third of the world's wheat and barley and half its sunflower oil. David Beasley from the UN's World Food Programme has made this appeal to the Kremlin.
So I asked President Putin, if you have any heart at all, to please open these ports. Please assure everyone concerned that the passageways will be clear so that we can feed the poorest of the poor and avert famine.
Weather forecast mainly dry with sunny spells today, scattered showers in the afternoon, top temperatures 15 to 17 degrees Celsius, fresh and gusty south to south-west winds. Tonight mainly dry, but rain will develop in the west and become widespread toward morning, heavy in places, lowest overnight temperatures 7 to 9 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News, back with more at 10 o'clock.
Mum, we're starving.
Can we have crisps?
Like clockwork, just as they're in from school. When did this become an everyday thing?
Please.
Sure, it's only a little treat. No, you're sticking to the new plan. Guys, remember what we agreed. No junk on weekdays. You can have cheese and crackers, yoghurt or toast.
At 3 p.m. on Tuesday, Joanne started with healthier snacks. Let's go easy on the treats. Start with smaller ones less often to keep your family healthy. Find more ways to start at makeastart.ie. Brought to you by Safe Food, the HSE and Healthy Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello. Yes, you can hear me. Good morning. A button had been switched off on the microphone. My fault. I'm sorry. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show. It is 5 minutes past 9 this Thursday, the 19th of May. I'm all up to high dough when equipment doesn't work. And of course, also the excitement still boiling over from last night on the TV. What a night of TV it was. There were tears, there was laughter, there was drama. It even went an extra half hour longer. It was really dramatic. And I'm not even talking about Derry Girls. But anyway, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp number. That's the text number. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. It's comments at highlandradio.com. If you want to watch the programme, hop onto our website, highlandradio.com. You can follow the links there or see it across our social media platforms. Okay, the Tyrconnell Tribune this morning, as controversy continues over the purpose and future of the €750,000 cardiac cath lab at LUH. The countdown is already in place for the cessation of mobile units' weekly visits to the hospital. Political sources and the public have accused CILTA and the HSE of reneging on Donegal's contribution to put a €750,000 cath lab in place 4 years ago. It's now certain that all referrals will have to travel to Galway for what is a 20-minute procedure. Now, obviously, John McAteer and his team relying on very reliable sources. It is somewhat at odds to what we heard from the HSE yesterday, but that being said, I would not be surprised at all if the outcome is not as is printed this morning. One councillor said that the failure to commission the equipment condemns the people of Donegal to second-class status, and some things never change in the health service. We'll have more on that later on in the programme, of course. The Derry People Donegal News. There are now more than 1,300 Ukrainian refugees living in Donegal who have fled the conflict. Refugees are continuing to arrive into the county, the most recent group taking up residency in Glencolmkill this week. Those working with refugees on the ground have said many are integrating well in their local host communities, but added that the sudden influx of people has put a strain on resources and services in certain areas and that more support is required. On to the Donegal Democrat this morning. They also have a story focusing on the refugee crises. Ukrainian refugees fleeing the war in their homeland arrived on the island of Ironmore yesterday evening. They will stay in the youth hostel on the island, owned by Jerry Early and run by Sebastian Sebo. As Sebastian explained, I can speak Russian a bit, so it helps. I would like to make Ironmore a flag destination for the families of the people from Ukraine. I will try and help as much as I can. He said one of the most important aspects about the Ukrainians coming to the island is they feel comfortable here. One of the most important things is that they will be in one of the safest places in the world, and that is the main thing, he added. So that accommodation now being used on the island, being used to house Ukrainian refugees. On to the Derry news now, and a retired school principal has escaped jail after admitting causing the death of a Derry man in a road crash on the main Derry-Buncrana road almost 4 years ago. Eddie McIntyre, 56, was killed when his motorcycle was involved in a collision with a car in Fan on July 4th, 2018. It's a tragic case. Brian Harkin, 77, of Loughnagin, Letterkenny, was disqualified from driving for 4 years and fined €3,000 after pleading guilty to careless driving, causing the death of Mr. McIntyre, who, from reading his family's comments, greatly missed. Seems to have been a wonderful gentleman, and very sad news indeed. And you can read more about that case in the paper today. All right, the Irish Independent, we've been talking about gambling in sport, you know, and if you choose to gamble, the one thing you would expect to be doing is at least gambling fairly, you know. It's bad enough that the bookies seem to have everything in their advantage, but you want games at least to be played fairly, don't you? Well, the Independent tells us that the Garda investigation into alleged match fixing at League of Ireland matches involved a suspect number of games that date to 2016, the Irish Independent can reveal. 10 men aged between their 20s and 60s were questioned at stations in 3 different counties yesterday in relation to the massive investigation by the Garda National Economic Crime Bureau that has been ongoing since 2019. The investigation is focusing on games involving one club, and many of the arrested men had connections to this football team. 7 of the men arrested in a series of dawn raids yesterday morning in connection with an ongoing investigation into alleged match fixing in the League of Ireland are footballers or former footballers, and some are even due to have involvement in significant football fixtures across the country in the coming days. Okay, so we'll see how that progresses. No one named, of course, as it's an ongoing investigation, but some of those being questioned are currently involved and active in the game. The Irish Times tells us that 2 Green Party TDs who defied the coalition and voted in favour of an opposition motion on the National Maternity Hospital will have the party whip removed for 6 months. Green Party members met last night when it was agreed that Nessa Horgan and Patrick Costello would be suspended from the parliamentary party for 6 months. It followed a decision by the pair to vote in favour of a Sinn Fein motion calling for the National Maternity Hospital to be located on state-owned land. As a result of the 2 TDs losing the party whip, the government majority has been cut to just 80 votes, which is a bare majority in the chamber of 160 members, a figure that includes the Cam Corder. Now, of course, there's nothing to suggest that these 2 Greens, having took a stand, will not vote with the government on other matters. Obviously, the budget coming up is going to be a big one. It's going to be a divisive one, but I would doubt that they will... I would be surprised if they voted against the government on other matters. They'll be back in the fold within 6 months, don't you know? And the majority down to just 1 there. It's a non-binding vote, by the way. It doesn't actually mean anything. It puts on the record, I suppose, the view of those that voted, but the government did not put in a counter motion, and the only reason there was a vote is because of the rural independence. They managed to secure enough votes to force a vote, but the decision has been made. It's a non-binding motion. It's there on the record, and those 2 Greens made their decision. All of the Greens in April had signed, not all of them, sorry, many of the Greens in April had signed a letter stating that they believed the hospital should have been built on state grounds. Those 2 are the only 2 that obviously weren't happy with the explanation as it relates to that 300-year lease, etc., etc. But the other Greens, they obviously heard enough or were convinced enough to vote to support the government's decision. Right, the Irish Daily Mail today. Sean Quinn trespassed in quarry he once owned. This is one of these stories that keeps getting... down different paths, left, right and centre. It's definitely going to be made into a film or a TV series at some point, this story. Former billionaire Sean Quinn has been trespassing in a cement factory and a quarry he used to own in misguided form of aggression, it's been alleged in the High Court. The owner of his former business went to the High Court to grant an injunction to prevent Mr. Quinn from driving his Mercedes-Benz onto their property. They complained that they've been the subject of a long and well-publicised campaign of intimidation, violence and serious threats, a campaign which Mr. Quinn himself has condemned. The High Court granted the request to issue a short service notice to Mr. Quinn that they are seeking the injunction. The court heard that a similar injunction was granted in the north to stop Mr. Quinn from trespassing on their property north of the border. Yesterday's High Court action was taken by Mannock Cement Limited and Mannock Build Limited, which were formerly part of the Quinn Group. The Irish Farmers Journal is out today, of course, and they tell us that the Irish live export trade is set for a massive boost, with Israel likely to import its first load of Irish weanlings in the coming weeks. The news comes as we see a surge in demand for cattle from Middle Eastern countries. Israel is in the market for good quality continental 300 kilogram to 400 kilogram bull weanlings. Bull B, as Seamus McMenamin said, they will be an important addition for the autumn weaning trade. There may also be opportunities for dairy-bred cattle with strong numbers imported from Romania, he said. It's quite interesting because obviously there's quite an active campaign for us not to be buying from companies that are based in Israel or support Israel, and yet here we are, we're exporting to Israel. I don't hear any complaints about that. And it's good for the farming community, of course, to find other outlets. I'm not questioning that for a moment. The Irish Daily Star tells us that the public should be given clarity on the criteria for calling a poll on Irish unification. This is according to Michelle ONeill. The Sinn Fein Vice President said there was a need to fill in the grey area of the Good Friday Agreement on the circumstances for holding a referendum on constitutional change. Her comments came after Tánaiste Leo Varadkar called for clarity on the mechanism for calling a poll under the Good Friday Agreement. A vote should be triggered if the Northern Secretary believes a majority would back change. Is that a majority in Northern Ireland or a majority on the island of Ireland? And I wonder how an individual would determine that or figure that out. I don't know. The Sun today tells us that OMA bomb suspect Liam Campbell has been extradited to Lithuania to face charges relating to weapons smuggling for the real IRA. The 59-year-old, who was found civilly liable for the 1998 OMA bombing in 2009, had fought a legal battle against Lithuanian authorities for more than 12 years. Campbell was arrested on Monday before being handed over to the officials from the Baltic state at Dublin Airport on Tuesday. A Garda spokesperson yesterday confirmed he was surrendered to the Lithuanian authorities by personnel assigned to the extradition section at the Garda National Bureau of Criminal Investigations on May 17 and subsequently departed from Dublin Airport. Both the High Court and the Court of Appeal had ordered he be extradited to Lithuania. However, he appealed those findings to the Supreme Court. But last week, the Supreme Court said he could be extradited in relation to the offences of smuggling, the possession of firearms, and also terrorism. And lastly, in the Irish Daily Mirror, as if there's not enough going on in southwest Donegal, exciting stuff, of course, Gardaí are investigating a shooting incident close to the set of Liam Neeson's latest action movie being filmed there. A person working on the set of the film In the Land of Saints and Sinners is understood to have come close to being hit by a stray bullet on land at Carrick. It's believed the slug was let off by hunters shooting deer in the early hours of Saturday morning. Filming on the movie was not taking place at the time, and the incident was reported to Gardaí, who have launched an investigation. So no one injured there, but of course there's a lot of fake firearms, and now we have potentially a legitimate firearm being discharged, thankfully close to someone, but thankfully no one being injured. Okay, that's a run through what's on your front pages. We're going to be making our own headlines and keeping you entertained, hopefully, for the next 2 hours and 40 minutes after this break.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Fly with Loganair from City of Derry to Edinburgh and immerse yourself in the live shows and street food of the Fringe Festival this summer, with discounts for children aged 11 and under.
Fly with me, I want to take you there, precious moments of this journey, to where homeward bound again.
Book now at loganair.co.uk. 15 kilo luggage allowance as standard.
Live exports soar as new markets beckon. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Israeli market to open for Irish weanlings as beef price heads for €6 a kilo. Dairy cow reduction scheme on the cards. We have the details. We have advice for your silage trailer health check, and we share top tips for sheep dipping and tagging.
Plus, we have all you need to know as a consumer before booking your summer holiday. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Small businesses often find it difficult to access the finance they need. Microfinance Ireland, the government-funded not-for-profit lender, can help. We help businesses who've been unable to secure finance from banks or other lenders. We provide business loans up to €25,000 to businesses of less than 10 employees with a turnover of up to €2 million. For more information, visit microfinanceIreland.ie or talk to your local enterprise office. Microfinance Ireland, funding small businesses in times of recovery and opportunity.
The ONeill Sportswear Massive Warehouse Clearance Sale is back by popular demand. For 1 weekend only, County GA jerseys, leisure wear, including t-shirts, tracksuit bottoms, half-zips, hoodies and jackets, are all reduced to clear. Open from 9 a.m. Friday, May 20th and Sunday, May 22nd. The sale will take place at ONeill Sportswear Warehouse off the Melmount Road roundabout, Strabane.
Right, now, Joseph ONeill is founder of Eternum Columbarium, and he joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Joseph.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good, and it's nice to speak to you. Right, now, you're working with the community of Ars to install a columbarium there. And a columbarium is a place for the resting burial of ashes after cremation. So where did this idea come from, and how long has it been in the works, Joseph?
I suppose the idea for me came from a church in Belfast, St Malachy's, which is in Belfast city centre. And a number of years ago, they renovated the building and discovered a crawl space beneath the floor. And the enterprising PP or whoever at the time decided that they would section it off and sell it off as a columbarium, so people's ashes could be placed there in urns. I thought it was a really good idea, and then a couple of years later, another church in Belfast installed one, and again it was very successful. So what Eternum does is we work with churches, religious orders, and other organisations to help them install and manage a columbarium. I suppose many people now are they find it difficult to find a burial space, especially in the cities. But beyond that, people are choosing cremation for personal reasons, and their options have been limited for where to put the ashes.
And I mean, it seems like an obvious location, but I just want you to explain. How did you come on believing that Ards would be an appropriate location? And can you describe to us where it might be located if all goes to plan?
Sure, yeah. So I know Ards from visiting, and there are a couple of places around the world that I think would be ideal for a columbarium, and actually Ards was one of them. So I approached the order, it's the provincial in Dublin, and he brought it to the various houses around Ireland. And luckily at the time, Ards were going through a redevelopment plan, and they have such a fantastic resource there with the estate and the location that they really want to make better use of it. So my proposal came at a good time, and they thought it was a good idea. They also have memorial benches along the coastal path. I'm sure anyone who's been for a walk there will have seen them, and they were very popular. So this kind of ties in with that idea of memory and having a lasting memorial in a place that people love. So if all goes to plan, and we're just about to submit our planning application, the columbarium will be located just behind the cemetery that's reserved, I think, for the brothers in the order, and that's just behind the monastery on a hill.
All right. And how many urns could be accommodated? Is it individual spaces?
Yes, so each space is individual. So each niche holds one urn, and one urn holds one person's ashes. Mm-hmm. And in this columbarium wall, we will achieve 320 niches, so that's space for 320 people's ashes. All
right. And is this going to be like sort of an exclusive space? I mean, I don't know what demand would be versus the supply you'd have available here, but is this for an option for people who are well resourced?
It's an option for everyone. Actually, we have our first columbarium actually opened in the Cathedral of St. Peter and Paul in Ennis, County Clare. And the room that it's in is sort of architecturally important, so we had to be very careful with the space that we used, and so we were able to get 240 niches there, and they all sold out within 4 months. And the parish priest, before we actually started the project, he calculated how much a grave would cost in the local cemetery. Mm-hmm. And when you take into consideration the cost of a grave, the cost of a headstone, if you want to surround, and then to open the grave again, a niche in a columbarium is much, much cheaper.
What is the ballpark figure?
The first phase of Ennis, the total was €1,613 per person. Now that included VAT. That included the urn, and it included the nameplate on the front, and that was a one-off payment. Mm-hmm. So it was very, very popular, and actually the diocese have just given approval for a second phase in Ennis. So now the cost will be probably slightly more expensive for Ards, because the price of raw materials has skyrocketed in recent months, and because this columbarium wall is outside and it's on the coastal path, it has to be designed to be extra robust, but it shouldn't be significantly more expensive.
Yeah, and is there scope for it to be bigger? I mean, is this his initial application, Joseph? Is there scope there for more space?
There definitely is, and that's something that we'll have to talk about with the order. If this initial wall is successful, then yes, definitely there is space and scope to build more.
And I'm not trying to bring everything down to financials, but is this beneficial to the friary as well, financially?
Yes, absolutely. So We work in partnership with the Friary and with all of the churches we work with. We install the columbarium, we manage it, and this actually comes from the parish of Belfast. A friend of mine who's the priest there, so he installed the columbarium, but he found that A, it was very expensive to install, and B, very time consuming to actually manage. So we do all of that and operate a profit share with the Friary, so they will be making an income from the columbarium, as did the cathedral in Ennis.
Yeah. And they'd also be involved in the design as well, presumably, in terms of, saying, yes, we believe that would actually, the design would be in keeping with what's there, or it doesn't take away in any way, shape or form.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
We've gone to great lengths to ensure that it ties in with the local landscape and the stone wall that's around the cemetery. And also, we work with liturgical artists to design the bronze faceplates of the columbarium. So it's very, it's very in keeping with the ethos of Ards and the sort of the spirituality of the place.
And if a wife or husband or a partner were to pass away, and their ashes are placed in one of these columbarium spaces, can their partner then join them if when it's their time?
Yes, of course. So the vast majority of the niches are actually sold before they're needed. So again, in Ennis, we've had people in their 30s, 40s, up to 80s and 90s who have bought them. So the vast majority of people buy them before they're needed, so they can decide where they want to be. The niches are actually too deep, so husband and wife, family members, friends can actually be very close to one another, just one behind the other, and then families as well can choose a plot together as well. So there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's because someone asked, they're a family of 4 or 5, that could be accommodated in the future. In the one niche.
Of course.
Okay, yeah.
Not in the one niche, but a group of niches beside each other. Yeah.
Okay, so it's 2 per niche.
It's one. It's one urn per niche, but the niches are actually 2 deep, so there's one behind the other.
I get you.
But then you could have 2 beside 2 or above 2, or so.
It's a cluster of niches. Okay,
it can be clustered together. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. All right. And this can move really quite quickly if the planning is approved. I'm not sure who might object, but they'll want to have a look at the plans. Where do you see this columbarium from? Is it from the path? Is it hidden from sight, or will people not even notice it when it's there? Or
if you were going for a walk along the coastal path, you probably wouldn't see it. But if you start the path, there's another path that goes up to the left, up like a little hill, and that leads to the cemetery. So it's just behind there. Like from that position, you can see the bay and you can see the forest park. Yeah. It's a really stunning location. But it's in a really nice sort of quiet, sort of intimate spot.
It sounds like it's going to be one of the jewels in your crown. There's going to be huge demand here, isn't there? Not necessarily just in the nearby community. I imagine, given the historic and religious status of this area and the peace and tranquility there, this is going to be really, really. There's going to be huge demand, I imagine.
I believe so, and I believe that's why the community at Ards were actually quite keen for it to happen, because they had actually had people approach them asking could they buy a plot of land to be buried there. This is before we discussed the columbarium idea, and in other columbaria, people from the local area have bought them, but actually people from America, Australia, New Zealand have bought some. And actually in Ennis, we had a couple of people who have never been to Ennis, let alone been in the cathedral or have any connection to it. Yeah. I think they were from Longford, and they saw it on RTE and they bought one too. So I think people like to have that security of knowing what's going to happen.
And is it done on a first come first served basis, Joseph, or is there is it open to within a radius initially and then more widely thereafter?
No, it's open to everyone
at the same time.
First come first serve. Yeah. So we already have a list of people who are interested. So we will be, whenever we get the go ahead, we'll be contacting them first. So it's first come, first serve.
And I think we're seeing more and more, and I think you alluded to this right at the very beginning, people choosing cremation as an option there. And of course, you might be familiar with ongoing discussions and campaigns about the location of a crematorium in the northwest, such as the demand. People currently have to travel perhaps further than they should have to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, a lot of people in the northwest either have to go to Belfast or Cavan. There were objections to the crematorium in Shannon, and I know, people were really opposed to that. But now that it's open, it's been hugely successful, and I think more and more people there are choosing cremation because the facility is close by. As I mentioned at the start, people are finding it difficult to find a traditional grave. But beyond that, people want to choose cremation anyway. They wouldn't choose to be buried, and this is about meeting that unmet need and giving people a beautiful resting place because the options are very limited.
Yeah. All right. It's all very interesting, Joseph. Thanks very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care of yourself. That's Joseph ONeill, founder of Turnham Columbarium. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. I imagine that there's only a couple of hundred spaces available there in that setting, that particular setting. I imagine there's going to be a huge interest in that. Yesterday we were talking to one of the organisers of a pro-life rally, excuse me, which is taking place this Sunday, I believe, in Bundoran. And I didn't get to your comments because it was a very busy show and it was towards the end of the programme. I just want to read some of them to you. Greg, the ship is going down. I've been involved with the pro-life campaign since the 60s, and since the legislation on abortion, you can already see a dive in people's moral codes. Violence is on the rise, and I can't see how it's not directly linked to how we are no longer valuing life. What do you think of that for a suggestion that life in general is on the dive because of that referendum being passed? Please respect the intelligence and integrity of the Irish electorate. They've made their wishes known in the referendum. Democracy has to be upheld, says a texter. Another here. With God's help, I'll be at the March for Life. Another, Greg, abortion is an unjust war on the innocent unborn, the same as the Russian war in Ukraine. People must reflect on the reality of abortion. Could someone please clarify for me, if I have an abortion after it is born, or kill a baby after it is born, I'd be charged with murder, but if it had been killed in my womb, that would be okay. Well, that's, we're kind of teetering around the issues people morally had to wrestle with before they decided which way to vote. That was the whole basis of the conversation and debate, part of it, in the run-up to that. If you live in rural Ireland, especially in Donegal, says this caller, it appears one shouldn't expect top medical services. And I don't want to keep switching between others. Another big health and safety issue at Rathmullen Pier. I don't think there would be planning permission for this on a public pier. What's that about? Is this connected to another text I have here? I'll get back to that in a second. Hi Greg, listening to problems with passports, just wondering if there is any public service provider in this country operating at an acceptable level. Hospitals, schools, the passport office, just a mess of a country at the moment, always something to blame for doing nothing. Why can we not have a passport office in Donegal, says another. I don't know. I think it was Deputy Joe McHugh made these calls again. They've been made over and over again for the location of a passport office up here. I seem to recall the last time this was shot down, when it was really to the fore in terms of public debate, was the cost of the machines, and the security is absolutely massive, and that they couldn't justify locating them into the northwest because of the amount of business they would do. That seems to be my recollection of that conversation. Hi Greg, working here with a young guy who gets paid every Thursday. Come Friday evening, he's out of money with gambling, has to get money from his mother to keep him going. Thank you. It is a curse for some people. A caller says the gambling adverts are a form of grooming. Also, the online gambling system have a great knowledge of how the mind of a gambler works, in my opinion. Newtown Cunningham's the same issues as the ones we were discussing in Ballybofey and Oller. Pedestrian crossing is a disgrace, and the main street is also in serious condition, needs immediate attention there. Greg, the GoMo phone service has gone out. I use my phone for my diabetic care. I've tried to get in touch with them, but there's no answer. We got on to the GoMo Twitter page to see what they had to say. Hi all, our GoMo team are currently working hard to fix issues impacting mobile service for a small number of customers. Services are continuing to return to normal and we're working to ensure full restoration as soon as possible. Thank you. So you're not on your own, and GoMo say they are working to restore everyone's service. I can't string two words together today. Just to put it out there, Greg, in the past week there seems to be a rise in people with a terrible cough, which is making the chest sore, hoarseness and loss of voice. One doctor diagnosed laryngitis, so maybe you can see if this is going around the county. I think there's a lot of people coughing and spluttering between the jigs and the reels. You know, we were not socialising an awful lot for a couple of years, and I think we're more open perhaps to infection. Right, so I just want to mention before the break that Buncrana Golf Club are hosting the Highland Radio Open Scramble this coming weekend. Half of the team from Highland that was due to be getting involved in that can't go because their backs are gone. I'm one of them. It's a brilliant event. We were at it last year. You should go and support it. As I say, it's a lovely, friendly, fun sort of environment, and it's a great little course too. Buncrana Golf Club, they're hosting the Highland Radio Open Scramble this coming weekend. A team of 4 Stapleford competition on Saturday the 21st of May and Sunday the 22nd of May. To enter, contact 9362279. We'll retain that number for you there. All right, more coming up on the show shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common, and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
There's a gaggle of monsters you'll see around town, in every colour from bright pink to brown. And just like us, they have hopes, dreams and wishes. A new car, new windows, a holiday diving with fishes. They know just where to go for their dreams to come true. The local credit union who can help you out too. For all of your dreams that are big, small or strange, we've got you covered with our Monster Loan range. Monster Loans from the Credit Union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Your energy savings start right here, right now with Bord Gosh Energy. New and existing customers can save up to €974 with our best dual fuel offer. Find out more at boardgoshenergy.ie. Discount on our standard unit rates for 12 months with fixed term dual fuel contract. Annual savings figure compared to BGE standard rates. Offer available to new and existing single fuel customers. Unit rate and standing charge apply. See boardgoshenergy.ie for EAB prices and full T's and C's.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
All right, we were talking about the passport services yesterday. We heard from 2 listeners in awful dire straits. One particular lady who has worked flat out over lockdown and had booked an all-inclusive family holiday, applied for the passports towards the end of January, was told they were on their way and they've been flagged and what have you, but she's due to fly out, I think it was next Tuesday, and would lose everything with no hope in the near future of being able to get the money together for another holiday. And lots of you are contacting us as it relates to this issue. I'd be ever so grateful if you guys could maybe touch on the current state of the Irish passport service on your next show. I've tried calling the helpline over 200 times but to no avail, and web chat is currently down. Applied 8 weeks ago and have had no updates. Due to fly on the 28th of this month. First family holiday in 5 years. Stand to lose a lot of money. Not only that, but try explaining this to two very excited kids. Speaking to others in the same position as myself throughout the county, we need an explanation urgently, and I think your show's a great platform. Find out exactly what's going on. Thanks for that. It's an awful situation, Barry. There's those waiting longer than you are. People waiting 4 months for the passports still haven't arrived. I would hope you get away, but it's not looking good, is it? The way things are going at the moment. We are in contact with the passport office to try and get a spokesperson to talk about this with us. This caller applied back on the 20th of February for one passport for my 3-year-old. They've messed us around and we now have to sell our family holiday. We can't get in contact with them. We travelled down there, was no help. Local TDs did everything they could, but it still was of no use. Particular delays, and I imagine that might be a first-time passport there. Last one. Same with me, I applied for my passport on the 21st of January. I contacted them to ask how long more had I to wait. On April the 21st, they said they sent confirmation that I did not receive, hence my son contacted them on my behalf. He got through after a long time. They told him there was a haze on my pic, so I done another photo, sent it away onto them and got confirmation that they received it, but nothing since. I'm peed off all these months waiting. That's my great concern, that your application's not being processed because there is a problem and you're not being told so that you can't remedy that problem. That's a big issue there, I think. All right, let's see, can we help this person? Lisa Marie, good morning to you.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa Marie. How are you? It's Greg here.
Hello, Greg. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Now, you were in contact with the show. Tell us what the situation is and how people might be able to help you.
Long story short, my brother Paul and his partner Caitlin had rescued a dog there a few months back. Her name is Skyler. She came from a family of previous abuse and neglect. She's been through so much. A few weeks ago, just underwent surgery. She's very timid. She's scared. She's so fragile. They went a drive and they were going through Buncrana and stopped at the North Pole bar there in Drumfries, I think it's called. A car had passed and she got very, very spooked and jumped out of the car and ran. And we've been on foot 48 hours searching for her, but there's so much land that we're begging and pleading for drone assistance to anyone in the south that can help us.
Yeah, hopefully it's a decent day for it. Would you expect, given the sort of what this dog has been through in its nature, that it probably will hunker down in the local area rather than, end up, 10 miles away or something?
They said they can't physically see her moving. They can see her curling up on the ball and sitting. She's that scared.
Right.
She's just so frightened, and she's the most beautiful, wee thing. I've never, seen anything as heartbreaking. And my brother watching him and his partner, they're so heartbroken. This isn't just a dog. This is their fur baby, someone they brought into their home to care for.
And very clearly became
full health.
Very clearly became a member of the family quickly.
She was taking over the bed and kicking one of them out at least every night. It's their world and they're so broken and lost, and we're just pleading, please, if anyone has a drone, please come and help us.
Can you describe the dog to us, just in case it's been taken in or something?
I will, surely. She's very tall. She's long and white. She's a Saluki, like a greyhound type of dog, but you can see a lot of marks on her of previous abuse, and we just need help. We need her home. It's really, really heartbreaking.
It's a very distinctive dog, isn't it?
It is, surely, and she's not going to, she's not going to be hard to miss. She's hard for us to miss on foot. There's so much land down there. It's a beautiful area, but there's so much land, and the only thing that's going to pick her up and help us and save her and bring her home as a drone. And I've messaged so many people, but I just don't seem to be getting anywhere, which is why I've turned to the radio stations. It's just really heartbreaking looking at my brother at the minute. I just want to help him so much.
Okay, so the dog ran off. Sorry. No, it's okay. It's understood. The dog ran off at the North Pole Bar in Drumfries and could be anywhere in the Carndonagh, Clonmally, Ballyliffin area. Now, there's lots of people out there that have drones, the little Mavics or whatever they might be.
There's many people out there, and obviously there's high-tech specific drones, but we're not even fussed at this stage. We'll settle with any kind of
Exactly. Anything that can help get to spaces from the sky that can't be gotten to on foot.
Can track her. That's the only way we're going to get her home. The longer she's out there, she's more frightened. And nobody's really eating and sleeping within the family because, our minds are going over time. Wondering, is she okay? Does she think that she's been left abandoned? There's so many thoughts. It's mental torture.
Yeah. And when? Just remind us when she went missing.
Monday evening at 8 p.m.
Right. Okay. So it's a couple of days now. Right. Okay.
It's a couple of days.
Leave it with us. Maybe someone has spotted the dog, or maybe someone is out there with a drone that will go up and help, or might not have to travel too far.
Maybe somebody that doesn't have social media that's maybe listening this morning can, keep an eye out. But I beg you, please, if anyone does have her, just reach out to us and, contact us just so we can get her home, please. We really, really desperately need her home.
Right, so it's a tall, white, lean dog with markings. I think that's enough to identify her. And what's her name?
She was wearing a baby pink collar, and her name is Skyler, but she's very afraid. So the Paul and Caitlin, the owners, they don't want us, calling out Skyler. That's going to terrify her and make her curl up under a ball. Her biggest fear is humans.
Okay, of course,
because of what the poor
abuse.
thing has been put through. She's terrified of humans, and it's just heartbreaking. Nobody should have to go through that.
All right, leave it with us, Lisa Marie. If
Thank
any
you,
of our
you're
listeners know anything about it, they'll be in contact with us and we'll be in contact with you. That's just a fact. And we have a contact for you as it relates to the drone assistance, if anyone can help. Right, Lisa Marie, I wish there's a really happy outcome to this. And we'll be in touch. Okay. No problem. That's what we do to try and help. Okay. Right, we'll be back with our next guest after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
At McGee's.ie, you can create gallery quality art on canvas from your favourite photo, direct from your phone, laptop or PC. Simply upload your favourite picture and have it printed on canvas, transformed into gallery quality art for as little as $44.95. Click and collect or have it delivered to your door ready to hang. Big pics, small prices. At McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny. See McGee's.ie.
Foy & Company are offering amazing discounts on a great selection of display sofas with up to 50% off a range of 2-seater, 3-seater and corner sofas in a choice of colours and styles. If you're getting a new suite of furniture, don't miss the big display sofa clearance sale on now while stocks last at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet and online at foys.ie.
Make this gardening season a lot easier with the great range of garden equipment at great prices in Watson Hire Letterkenny. Lawnmowers, trimmers and hedge cutters, scarifiers, power washers and much more for sale and hire. A full range of fertilisers and weed killers and great deals on paint and decorating accessories. All at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny. For more, see TikTok, Facebook or visit watsonhire.ie.
Come along to Beaver Log Cabins Big Weekend, Saturday 21st and Sunday 22nd of May. Beaver Log Cabins are Ireland's biggest bespoke log cabin company, with quality cabins, home offices, hot tubs, gazebos and more. Located in Bonamy and Bridgend, this family-friendly weekend features a range of offers, discounts, prizes and promotions. See beaverlogcabins.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a city break this summer? You can now fly twice weekly to beautiful Cologne in Germany every Sunday and Thursday with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Rightio. Mainly dry with sunny spells today. Scattered showers though in the afternoon. Temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Right. So one of the big stories locally at the moment is controversy over services at Letterkenny University Hospital and $750,000 cardiac cath lab at LUH. We are talking about the cessation of a mobile unit which visits the hospital to provide heart care analysis for people. It's a private company. They're pulling out. It's on the front of the O'Connell Tribune today as well. John McAteer writes that political sources and the public have accused CELTA and the HSE of reneging on Donegal's contribution to put a €750,000 cath lab in place 4 years ago. He says it's now certain that all referrals will have to travel to Galway for what is a 20-minute procedure. Councillor Kieran Brogan is a committee member member of the HSE's Regional Health Forum. We spoke to Tony Canavan, the head of SALTA, yesterday, Kieran. He didn't go as far as what John McAteer's published on the front of his paper, though at this point we've no reason to doubt that, by the way, and I'm not for a second. Where do you lie in this? What are your feelings as to the future of these vital services here in Donegal?
I'm very concerned, Greg. There's an awful lot of anxiety by many people out there at the moment, the general public, by a lot of people at the coalface working in the cardiology service in Letterkenny University Hospital. A lot of people have referrals on a daily basis, and if this service is to end, and it was confirmed yesterday by Tony Canavan, and you actually done better than we did, because Tony Canavan has been very difficult to get this last while, but Highland Radio managed to get him yesterday, and you probably get more information into the public domain yesterday than we've been able to get, and that has been a problem with the Health Service Executive for some time.
Okay, well, I just want to hear your comments on that. We might have a quick listen back. Yeah, go ahead.
Only for the media, the public representatives wouldn't be aware of this. And that, again, gives me a huge cause of concern.
Well, that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case. I agree. Well, let's listen to Tony Canavan's comments yesterday. It's just over a minute, but I think it's just important to frame the rest of this conversation. I asked him about because we got some indication from the hospital manager a couple of weeks ago that they were making efforts to try and have a continuance of services once this private company stopped visiting the site. So I asked Mr. Canavan if he was on the same page with those feelings.
I suppose for many of the patients that receive this care, the option of it being deferred or put on a waiting list or otherwise, that isn't an option. So they will have to receive the care. The question that arises is, will we be able to continue to provide the care that's currently provided, or indeed elements of that?
What's your best answer then at this point?
The reason that we've engaged three experts to answer that question for us is because they're the right people to make that call and to advise them that it wouldn't be appropriate for me to guess it in advance of them coming back to us with their recommendation.
Okay, but you are responsible for presumably services and retaining them as much as possible.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But
so you have a view. I mean, you have a view outside of what these experts are going to say to you, surely.
My view is that if at all possible, what we would like to do is to continue to provide services locally where that's appropriate. What we don't want to do is provide services locally that are of a lower standard than patients deserve.
In terms of these experts, will they look at other options? Say, for instance, for us here in the Northwest, maybe some of these services could be provided in Derry as opposed to Dublin or Galway. Is that a possibility? Can that be discussed?
Yeah, well, just to be clear, what we have asked the experts to look at is whether or not the equipment that is currently available in Letterkenny can provide some aspects or all aspects of the service that is currently provided. That's what we've asked them to answer for us. Other options outside of that, like the ones that you've mentioned, they're ones that we will have to examine in ourselves.
So, Kieran, in relation to this issue we're talking about now, and other issues too that I put to him, he seemed quite unapologetic in saying, look, the reality is nowadays people are going to have to travel for services. That's just the way it is. If they don't think they can do it safely and to the same standard of this mobile unit in Letterkenny, the geography doesn't matter. They're going to not provide the service there.
Yeah, that's a very good point you're making. But, let's bring ourselves back down to earth, and we're in Letterkenny here, and we're in Donegal, and we're in the real world. And somebody takes ill here in Donegal. Are they expected to travel to Galway? The reality is, Greg, they'll be dead before they get there. We have an excellent cross-border relationship here with Galvin. We have two top consultants who've done huge work over the last number of years in this area. They have saved an awful lot of lives between Letterkenny and Galvin. If we lose this service in Letterkenny and is expected, and this is the problem, and it's a huge problem that we face in this country on a daily basis, that people are sitting in Dublin or in Galway and they talk about everybody should come here to us, but they have no understanding of the geography, of the challenges. If you're leaving Mallinhead, if you're leaving Gweedore and you have to travel all the way to Galway, and you only have a very short time available if one takes a heart attack or takes any sort of cardiology illness to get in there and to get the stents introduced. So I mean, this is lives here. Lives have been saved by the team that we have in Letterkenny, and indeed the cross-border relationship with Galvin. And I was listening carefully to what he had to say yesterday as well, and he did allude at one stage in your interview that he understand about the how the proximity was the words he used of Sligo to Galway. And, this takes me back to a conversation we had a number of years ago at a meeting in Letterkenny. And, the consultants themselves, maybe some of them would have the highest respect for many people at the highest level in our healthcare. But, the people at the highest level, these consultants, they need to travel to Letterkenny as opposed to all the patients have to leave to travel to Galway to see them. But here we have an excellent model in Letterkenny. The Friends of the University Hospital had over many years, whether it be a car wash, a football match, a cake sale, raised €750,000. That arrangement was done hand in hand with the management of the hospital at Letterkenny and with the Sálta group at the highest level, who invests in the capital investment at the time for the infrastructure. So Letterkenny is best placed here to accommodate the equipment that's there. And I accept as we speak that there has been people from Galway who was viewing and expecting the equipment to Letterkenny. It was my understanding there was to be a meeting yesterday on Zoom by these senior people, and I'm led to believe that meeting was cancelled at the 11th hour yesterday, which is unfortunate. And I'm just very concerned, as many others, that maybe this has been kicked down the road, because you know what the reality is. It's easy to turn off a meeting yesterday and say we'll put it off for a few weeks' time. What happens to that person that has a heart attack? What happens to the person that takes ill? This service is coming to an end. That was confirmed yesterday on a Highland Radio as well. So what about the people that's going to take ill when there's no service there?
Yeah, but that service isn't there all the time either, though. It is a mobile unit, so there are occasions where people would need that service and still have to travel, though, Kieran.
You're 100% right, but it's there, an emergency need, and it's there, comes on Wednesday night and it's there all day Thursday. That the arrangement that we have with Galvin is an excellent one, but it's only used for emergency services. But the reality is that if this service goes, then somebody's going to have to travel to Galway or Blackrock. So the problem is at the moment, the dedicated team that we have in place in Letterkenny, are they going to remain in place if we don't get the supports in place? And it's all down to I'm led to believe, and I'm not an expert in this area, but I'm speaking to people who know exactly what's happening on the ground, that a cardiac technician could resolve a lot of this. So I mean, a bit of common sense.
Yeah, but the only thing, Kieran, and I get where you're coming from, and it's you're a politician and I'm a journalist, and we're sitting here talking about it. Listening to that interview yesterday, and maybe I read it wrong, but it seemed to me that we're going to provide the services where we believe they're best provided and where it's safest to provide them. We referenced the eye care. It doesn't work sending someone up to do a satellite sort of a setup once a month. It's the best practice to do it centrally in Sligo. And I just wonder, are we going to end up seeing more stuff go from Letterkenny because the best place to do it is in Sligo or in Galway or somewhere else?
Well, I don't accept that the best place is Sligo.
No, neither do I, but we don't make the decisions.
I have to say that Dr. David that we have in Letterkenny, and I've never met the man, but I have met many people who has been through his services and has nothing but the highest respect for the service that he's provided in Letterkenny and the lives that he has saved. And I think, we hear many discussions on your radio station about us trying to attract consultants to the region and to Letterkenny. Here we have one of the best in the country. So we need to put the tools, if you like, in place, the supports in place. The Friends of the Hospital took that leap of faith. They put that 750,000 in there. That was the public, the people of Donegal. And I have nothing but the highest respect for the great morale, the boost, the team, the work that Letterkenny Friends of the Hospital has done. And I think there's an opportunity here now to restore the confidence in the service and to take that leap of faith and put whatever resources is needed to make sure that we have a permanent service in Letterkenny. And it doesn't take much. And there's many, many occasions that you'll see that you're talking about hundreds of millions. That's not the case here. And, everybody, to be fair, is singing off the one page here. We just need the medical people to come on board, because far too many people has had to travel to Galway and Dublin. But here we have the capital infrastructure in place. We have the expert equipment in place that's not in Sligo. The equipment that we have here leaves us best placed ahead of the rest. But we just need those people that's having the review to have that meeting as a matter of urgency and to come, and if it needs to be to Highland Radio or however, and tell us that this service is permanent. Because as we speak, Craig, and this is the unfortunate situation, the cardiology service in Letterkenny, I'm led to believe, is not allowed to take any other appointments after a certain date in June.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate.
It's very worrying. And listen, we're going to stay across this as well because it's really important. Thanks for your time, Kieran, this morning. I appreciate it. Thanks for your input in that. All right, take care of yourself. All right, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. As I say, that's the story that's going to continue to rumble. We are going to take a break now for the news and obituary notices. Stay with us. We'll be back with more afterwards.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. The government is now operating with a wafer-thin majority after the expulsion of two TDs from the Green Party. Nasa Hourigan and Patrick Costello lost the party whip last night after voting for a Sinn Fein motion calling on for the National Maternity Hospital to be built on public land. It means the coalition's stall majority is now reduced to just one. Green Senator Pippa Hackett says the situation is regrettable.
Look, it's not ideal. I think everyone accepts that. And, you know, the parliamentary party sincerely really regrets having to make the decision, but it was a necessary decision. It's important that government works together, it's united. It's important that the parliamentary parties within this three-party coalition work, you know, inclusively together as well. And, you know, that we refocus now on the business of government.
Tempers flared last evening at an Oireachtas committee meeting during which representatives of the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority were questioned regarding the Killybegs fish weighing controversy. In his opening statement to the committee, SFPA Executive Chair Pascal Hayes withdrew a controversial statement where he asked committee members to consider the array of potential motivations of operators critical of the weighing processes in Killybegs. During the hearing, Mr Hayes outlined the SFPA's legal reasoning for insisting that 5% of pelagic catches are weighed at the pierside, saying manipulation of their prior systems of checks from the industry spurred the EU to introduce stricter measures.
The SFPA responded to increased understanding of non-compliance risk by enhancing its control focus on landings and weighing and strengthening the permit conditions to include, for example, CCTV feed to SFPA. Nevertheless, a clear sentiment existed of ready manipulability of such systems, with any such manipulation resulting in inaccurate declarations of the amount of fish landed and potentially fraudulent food marketing. This puts at risk the reputation of Ireland's entire sea fisheries and seafood processing sector.
A Fine Gael TD says a border poll could be called at any time in the next decade, and he's urging the government to begin preparations. Neil Richmond says now is the time to establish an Oireachtas committee to work through the detail of what a United Ireland might look like. He says the fallout of Brexit changed everything.
I think we could easily see a border poll being held within the next decade. You know, the results of this Assembly election possibly don't allow for one, but it's not in our gift. It's down to the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland to decide, and indeed, as the Taoiseach has already said, we need to see clarity about what merits a border poll.
A Foyle MLA is calling for action regarding flooding in the Foyle Road area of Derry. Padraig Delargy says due to recent heavy rain, houses in the Foyle area have been flooding. An occurrence, he says, is becoming all too regular for those living there. Padraig Delargy says the NI Water and Road Service must now find a solution.
This is an intolerable situation for residents. It's one that has been going on for years, for decades. Over the past number of months, we have had road service, we've had NI Water out on numerous occasions, and we've been told by them that, you know, it's very difficult to find a solution, it's very difficult to do anything. We're calling for a solution now. You know, this is a situation which residents cannot put up with. It's something which is totally unacceptable in any area. So we want to see this alleviated, because the role of those road service and NI Water is to find a solution. So we expect them to do so.
And the head of the UN says he's having intense contacts with Russia over fears of a global food shortage. Secretary General Antonio Guterres wants Moscow to agree to the export of grain stored in Ukrainian ports. The two nations together produce almost a third of the world's wheat and barley and half its sunflower oil. David Beasley from the UN's World Food Programme made this appeal to the Kremlin.
So I asked President Putin, if you have any heart at all, to please open these ports. Please assure everyone concerned that the passageways will be clear so that we can feed the poorest of the poor and avert famine.
Weather forecast mainly dry with sunny spells, scattered showers in the afternoon with top temperatures 15 to 17 degrees Celsius, fresh and gusty south to southwest winds, strong to near gale-force at times along coasts tomorrow night. Tonight indeed mainly dry with rain developing in the west, becoming widespread toward morning, heavy in places, top temperatures of 7 to 9. Tomorrow morning we'll see rain clearing to scattered heavy showers and sunny spells in the afternoon. Top temperatures on Friday 13 to 15 degrees Celsius, winds again moderate west to southwest. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 19th of May. The death has taken place of Anthony Doherty, ONeill, Malin Head, removal from Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, this afternoon at 4 o'clock, going to his late residence at Ardongal, Malin Head. Funeral from there on Saturday at 9:30, going to St Mary's Church, Lag, for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Pat Oliver, Maharan Napan, Convoy. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 for 2 o'clock funeral service in St Ninian's Parish Church, Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. House private with family and friends welcome. Strictly private, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Pat's funeral service will be streamed live on the Craig's Media Facebook page. The death has taken place of Willie McColgan, Garrison, Ishkaheen, Muff. Remains reposing at his residence. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 10:30, going to St Patrick's Church, Ishkaheen, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Joseph Joe Keeney, 23 Fairgreen Hill, Long Lane, Letterkenny. Reposing at Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, from 5:30 to 7:30 this evening, with removal to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for reception prayers at 8 o'clock. Reposing overnight for Requiem Mass on Friday morning at 11, followed by cremation in Lakeland's Crematorium, Cavan. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Hillcrest House Residents Comfort Fund or Medical 2 LUH, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Bernie Henderson, née Rolston, 55 St Coleman's Drive, Strabane. Reposing at Quigley's Funeral Home tomorrow evening from 5:30, with removal at 6:30 to St Mary's Church, Melmount. Requiem Mass on Saturday morning at 10, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live at melmountparish.com. The death has taken place of Patrick Packy Lindsay, 460 Croghan Heights, Lifford, formerly of Ballindrate. His remains will repose at his home from 12 noon today. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Requiem Mass can be viewed live at clonleyparish.com. The death has occurred of Anne Mulrine, née Ballantyne, Gortna Quigley, Rafo. Anne will repose at Kelly's Funeral Home, Oakfield, Rafo, from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock today, with rosary tonight at 8. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 20 to 11, going to St Eunan's Church, Rafo, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. The death has occurred of Kevin Little, 6 Upper Killay Road, Derry, formerly of Hamilton Street, Derry. Kevin's remains are reposing at his late residence. Removal tomorrow at 2 to St Columba's Church, Longtower, for Requiem Mass at 3 o'clock, followed by interment in St Mary's Cemetery, Fawn. Requiem Mass can be viewed on longtowerchurch.org. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Raymond Brennan, Glenn McQuinn, Letterkenny, formerly of Ardra. His remains are reposing at Gallagher's Funeral Home, Station Road, Mount Charles. Removal from there this afternoon to St Noel's Church, Ardahi, for 1 o'clock funeral mass, with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Family Flowers Only Please, donations in lieu if desired, to the Irish Lung Foundation. Funeral Mass will be live streamed on the St Noel's Parish Inver Facebook page. The death has taken place of Robert Bob McNutt, 39 Main Street, Castle Caulfield, formerly of Tullybugley Manor, Cunningham. Funeral service in Castle Caulfield Presbyterian Church this afternoon at 12 noon, followed by interment in the family burial plot at First Ride Presbyterian Church, Manor Cunningham, arriving there at approximately 4:15. House private, Family Flowers Only Please, donations in lieu if desired to Mary Curie, care of Martin and Sons Funeral Directors, Dungannon. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Doherty, Tinney, Ballymcgann, Buncrana. Remains reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live at churchservices.tv. And the death has taken place of Kathleen Drum, née Doherty, Drumboy Lifford, formerly of Queen Street, Derry. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there this morning at 10:25 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live at clonleyparish.com. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
And you're very welcome back to the second hour of the 9 till noon show. A caller says, what party is Kieran Brogan with? My God, you'd think he'd not know. Another caller says, hi Greg, in regard to your topic, it's disgraceful plans in transferring cardiac patients to Galway. We as a family had to go there with a family member in an emergency on a Friday night. It cost us a couple of €1,000 to stay in hotels for 4 nights. Don't get me wrong, they were nothing fancy. This is also the unseen cost, both financially and mentally, on families that are being thrust into medical emergencies 4 hours down the road with nowhere to go and under major pressure. But again, the sense I'm getting is the HSE is unapologetic. They say, that's the best place to get care. That's where we need to go. As I say, I'm not trying to set a narrative here, but that's what's worrying me about some of the conversations. Hi Greg, I ordered 3 passports online and received them with 1 week. Great service, yes of course, and that's fine. Standard renewals online, not a problem. People are getting great results there, and fair play. Delighted to hear that. Great service. We're talking about those that there's some slight complication with the applications, maybe a child or a new passport or whatever it might be. These people are waiting 3 or 4 months. Holidays are about to go down the pan. So whilst I appreciate that you've got a great service there and delighted to enjoy your holiday, it's others who are experiencing, and it's not random a few people, it's lots and lots of people where it's not just quite as straightforward a renewal process. Dr. David is a fantastic doctor. He gave my husband extra years and he saved my young daughter's life. I can't speak highly enough of him. What he's done for the services in Letterkenny is fantastic. I would love to speak to someone like Dr. David. I mean, can you imagine? And I'm not putting pressure on him, by the way, not for a second. And I understand not everyone wants to speak publicly or whatever, but just the weight the comments from someone like that might have could be the game changer here. Hi Greg, regarding passports, about 5 weeks ago I applied for my passport on my phone, completed and sent the application at about 11 o'clock on a Monday, received it shortly after 11 o'clock on Tuesday the next day. If it's just a renewal with no complications, your phone is the best option. Yes indeed, and lots of people are enjoying that level of service for the simple online renewals. All the ashes in Ards should be built to accommodate family and friends, not just single ashes. I'm not sure. I thought there could be family plots in inverted commas, but that's not the model there. Hi Greg, life in general is changing simply because we're not getting the required funding in this county alone. Medical care hospitals suffering short of staff, lack of Gardaí, not enough patrol vehicles, poor court system. Slap on the wrists and away you go. Thanks Greg. They believe things are across the board slipping. Hi Greg, my son applied for his passport Sunday night. It arrived here yesterday. As I say, sounds like a simple online renewal. Good news. Caller says simply, I like Joseph's idea for Ards. This is to build a space where there are spaces available for people to store their ashes there. 1,600, their last project was. This one's going to be more expensive because of its design. Right, okay, now it is time for you to play bingo, and it's daily prizes, fantastic, but it's jackpot day. Here are the numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday the 19th of May, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €7,000 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S19, it's game number 20. The jackpot number is 18. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 62, 40, 58, 86, 46, 56, 10, 31, 67, and finally 57. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Discover the Dun Stores app and put better value at your fingertips. Tap to browse all our latest grocery offers. See all your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers stored in one place, and scan your Value Club card to earn points. All within the app, saving you time and money. Plus, download the app today and you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. Dun Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
Getting involved in this year's Bike Week couldn't be easier. Starting on Saturday, May 14th and running until Sunday the 22nd, you'll find a host of events and activities in your local area to suit your level of experience. So, whether that's family freewheeler or a conscientious commuter, click into gear and visit bikeweek.ie to learn more. Supported by Transport for Ireland, your local authorities, sports partnerships and funded by the Department of Transport.
A huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre, do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work, great life, great people, where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
Join me, Brendan Devaney, this Monday for the DL Debate the Championship Ulster Final Special, live from Sister Sarah's Bar and Restaurant, Letterkenny. With Donegal and Derry and Ulster Final showpiece, it's set up for an absolute cracker. We'll have a host of top GA personalities on the night and some ex-legends of the game, including Anthony Malloy, Rory Kavanagh, Neil Geller and Paddy Bradley. If you're around Letterkenny this Monday, call into Sister Sarah's. Whereas ever, you'll get a warm welcome. If you can't make it, tune in to Highland Radio this Monday just after 7pm news and podcast it on highlandradio.com for the DL Debate.
Okay, we welcome Sylvie onto the programme now. Hi Sylvie, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
It's good to have you with us. Right now, we've been discussing about the future of cardiac services at Letterkenny University Hospital. You know first-hand, and I suppose you could say first heart, Sylvie, the importance of the services and quick interventions.
Absolutely. My story began 4 years ago on the Sunday of the August bank holiday weekend when I got a little pressure on my throat and thought nothing of it, only for my wife, Joanne, insisted that we went further afield, and I just made it to Letterkenny General Hospital after being instructed to go there by the doctor, and I was only in there a short time. When I went out, I was just a total cardiac arrest. The doctors in Letterkenny were absolutely brilliant, Dr. Ali, and they told my wife, I didn't know what was happening, but they told my wife that I had to have emergency treatment done. Unfortunately, they didn't have it in Letterkenny, and I would have to go to either Dublin or Galway. But then they came back and they told her that my situation was that serious that I wouldn't even make it in a helicopter.
Wow.
So the next option was to go to Derry. So they transferred me to Derry with a cardiac doctor and 2 nurses. And I was met inside by Professor Peace in Derry. And I must say that the service that I got in Letterkenny and in McGalvin was absolutely brilliant. So, like, my situation was that it was the bank holiday weekend in Ireland. The people in the north, Professor Peace and his team, they had to be called in on a Sunday, and they effectively saved my life. Now, Dr. Allion, who's a cardiac surgeon, and Dr. David, they're 2 excellent people here in Letterkenny. I know the facilities are in Letterkenny, but unfortunately, they cannot be used. And I think it is an absolute disgrace.
So not only we do have this publicly funded, literally publicly funded through fundraising, state-of-the-art cath lab, which has never been used to its full potential, we're now facing the situation where those that need angiograms are going to have to face that trip down to Galway University Hospital. We're going backwards, Sylvie, seemingly, and we should be moving forwards.
Yeah, it's absolutely deplorable. You know, like only like if the service was here in Letterkenny, then I could have been dealt with. You know, if the people in Derry weren't able to come in that particular day, then I would be past history. You know, so it's so important. And I know other people who were in a similar situation to me, from being up on the rehab, and their story is the very, very same. So we urgently need the angioplasty unit.
How's life for you now, Sylvie? It was a major thing. Does it take long to bounce back from being on the brink like that? It's
Well, my motto is don't think about it.
Yeah.
You know, it was only when I heard Kieran Brogan on the phone or the radio there this morning that it brings it back to you.
Okay.
But you have to get on with life. As I say, the people here in Letterkenny Hospital are brilliant. Dr. David and Dr. Allion, I cannot say enough about them, and I'm on the medication, take the medication and get on with life.
Good stuff. I hear amazing things about both individuals. And Sylvie, you know, like, I just can't believe that we're always arguing to try and it's a huge hospital. Drive past it, it's massive. Why do we have to argue to have life-saving services close to us? I mean, I can't believe that year after year after year after year, here we are arguing and campaigning and discussing, having something not as simple, it's complex, of course, but this life-saving intervention there. People fundraised, table quizzes, football matches, whatever it was, to get this cath lab in there. And now there's 3 experts coming up to see if it can be used for angiograms or for, I don't know, but I mean, why are we having to fight for everything? And the HSC seemingly unapologetic in saying that, well, if we think that we can't provide the service in Letterkenny up to the excellent standard of Galway, well, then we're just not going to do it there. We're going to continue to do it in Galway. And then that's it. You know, crack on, lads. That's the decision. I just don't understand, you know, who's running this? Who's making the decisions? How is it okay?
We have to make our voices heard. We have to make it heard in the Dáil. And if need be, I think we should be out protesting about it.
Mobilising onto the streets.
It's such a serious situation that the facility is there, but it cannot be used.
It's a scandal.
It's a scandal.
Is the word that we've kind of dodged around, but it's an absolute scandal.
It is. You know, our politicians need to get moving on it and you know, speak up in government and get the people up to see what we have here.
Like, because we hear from government that we are a rich country. We have in months whereby we're right across all sectors had a bumper march, right? We hear that we have growth of the second highest growth in the EU forecast for 2022. All of that as if to say, yeah, look, fantastic, well done. Yet we can't even find a way to make a €750,000 cath lab suitable to save people's lives. You know, we can't get houses for people. You know, I mean, at what point is enough for the people to say that, you know, we're not going to take this any longer?
Exactly. Well, that's my point. I think it's time that, you know, and that's why I rang in today, because I was one of them people that was directly affected by it. And I think it's time that we got up and moved on it and, insist on our politicians to get the government committed to the situation. Like we have a minister here in this county at the moment, and we most certainly have to keep it.
Yeah,
it's so wrong to even consider it being there and us not being able to use it, and us having the staff. We have, as I say, two of the best cardiac surgeons, I'd say, in the country.
We can't lose those. And do you know what? I don't think it has to be political either, right? Because I don't believe there's any group that can ride in on a white horse and save the day. I think the system is such in this country that what people need to campaign and protest and object against is the system that we elect people to, which is clearly not functioning. Because they can make little announcements here and there, but bottom line is whatever is running this country, that's what needs to change. Because there's a massive gap between all of our wealth and all of our prosperity and the lives that we lead on a day-to-day basis, that we're having to row and argue and campaign and procrastinate about the stuff that should be our right in a wealthy, successful country, if we're led to believe that's what it is.
Absolutely. It's so unbelievable that, we're left out. It's just because I think that we're up here in Donegal. You're so far removed from Dublin. You're so far removed, and actually bring them down as far as Galway, bring them down as far as Dublin or whatever, and everything will be fine. But it's just, we just have to keep the pressure on it at every corner and try and get that unit up and running.
We can't have death by air code, and sometimes that's just what it feels. Sylvie, I'm delighted to hear, thanks to the great care that you've received, that you are well, and many more years to enjoy your health, Sylvie, and thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you, Greg.
Take care of yourself. Lovely to speak to you. Betty Holmes joins us now. Betty, I suppose you've always got a number of hats on. You've got your DACC hat on. You're a cardiac patient, so you understand what's going on as well. So, I know you're in constant contact with the powers that be on this issue, Betty. You're getting responses back, some of them unsatisfactory, some of them vague, some of them confirming what you might already know. So where do you see where we're at, and maybe if you want to sort of involve it in your own experience as it relates to these cardiac services?
Yeah, well, under my DACC hat, we have been making repeated representations, trying to find out what was going on. And I suppose, Greg, initially with the news of the whole angiogram service, there was a bit of confusion as well, because sort of from a DACC point of view, we were getting calls to say that the equipment that had been bought was been moved to Sligo. We've done a lot of work on that. The mobile unit is both mobile units that serve Letterkenny and Sligo and other parts of Ireland are being moved out of the country. The company's taken them out of the country at the end of June. So we have established that the main issue is the 750,000 that was raised by the Friends of Letterkenny Hospital and the people of Donegal to provide a cardiology unit or angiogram suite, catheterization and angiogram suite at Letterkenny Hospital.
Okay, can you help me, Betty, just so that we all know exactly where we're at, and this includes me as well. Angiograms, presumably, you can have a scheduled angiogram when this mobile unit is up through Thursday, right? But there are, in the event of a suspected heart attack, there's urgent angiograms, and currently, any other day of the week, presumably, people are having to travel for those angiograms as it is already. Is that
I have been that patient over my cardiac history extends over, I think it's about 18 years, right? And my first episode, I was kept in Letterkenny Hospital because the consultant at that time was Mr. Liam Bannon, who felt the best qualified cardiologist to see me and treat me was in St. James's. I have done the road down to Dublin. Sorry, I don't usually get emotional, Greg, as you know, but memories. I've been the patient who's travelled as an emergency at 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning to Dublin on the back of an ambulance. I've been the person that had the jump leads. I've went through all that. My stents are in double figures, and I mean well up in the double figures. I was initially told that I would need a bypass, but that the bypass, lifespan of a bypass is 12 to 16 years or more. because of other medical conditions that they were sure my bypass would block within 3 to 5 years. So really, I would need 2 bypasses within 10 years, at the most, or even 6. So I have to live long enough to only need 2 bypasses. So I've had an extensive history in the cardiac department. I've had the angiograms. I know what the journey is. I couldn't fault the team at Letterkenny Hospital and the medical ambulance guys that take me down there, because, as I said, we've had a few, I call it jump lead episodes. But the reality is that Letterkenny Hospital and the people of Donegal do not count at neither regional or national level. And it's an absolute scandal. And we did write to our Donegal minister and TDs, and in their chosen career path, we were very pointed and very clear to them, Greg. If this service is not put in place with a start date at Letterkenny Hospital, then it's an absolute, it's more than a scandal.
Yes.
And we've actually wrote to Minister Donnelly this morning, and we asked him for a start date for the angiogram service to start at Letterkenny.
Yeah, but Betty, the problem I have, right, and I respect everything that you do, right, okay, is the conversation with Mr. Canavan yesterday, it wasn't about resources. It wasn't about staff. It wasn't about funding. These 3 experts are coming in to see if these services can be safely and up to a certain standard provided at Letterkenny University Hospital. Now, I hope that I'm not misquoting him in that, but I listened back to the clip a couple of times. So, in other words, it's not about resources, it's not about investment, it's a decision. So they might say, you know what, it's slightly better in Galway. And then that means that LUH is struck off the list in this regard.
Greg, sorry, cutting across you. That's what's going to happen. I've looked and I've read through the last cardiac strategy. I'm doing this from memory. I think it was 2010 to 2019. I think there's 174 pages or something in it. A few of them are pages of acknowledgements. I didn't see any reference to, they talked about cardiac disease, prevention, stroke, the whole lot. I didn't see anywhere in that document that highlighted the importance of, acute service. It's a load of hot air, and these guys are going to come up, Greg, and there's going to be a page done, and people are going to get very highly paid to do this, and it's going to say that Letterkenny is not suitable. End of story. I am telling you, the unit is going to be removed. And anybody that believes anything else is no disrespect to them.
Living in cuckoo land. Okay, I get you. But it's the same from Canavan yesterday. Mentioned to him about having a mobile eye clinic or an eye clinic in Letterkenny University Hospital. Nope, it doesn't make sense because we cannot provide exactly what we need to provide in Letterkenny like we can in Sligo. And the mood music I'm receiving is that we're getting to a point soon, Betty, whereby say, for instance, with rural transport, if you want access to not like general services, if you are in rural Donegal and you want general services, you need to live closer to Letterkenny. I think on a national scale now, there is going to be and I don't think it's being hid as much anymore, a penalty for living in Donegal. If you live in the northwest, you're going to have to accept that you are going to be further away from centres of excellence in relation to different areas of care, cancer care or heart care or whatever it might be. I just feel that that's where we're moving to, and they're going to be quite unapologetic in saying that. It's going to be like a Donegal levy.
Greg, we go back to February 2017 when DACC, because we were sick and tired of sitting at meetings in Galway and Dublin trying to explain the distance and the geographical position, when we put together the DACC map that highlights that the 8 so-called centres of excellence are the Galway-Dublin line, the prostate rapid access clinics are below that line, the breast check units are below that line, and all that's up above that line is the satellite breast unit that DACC and others fought very hard to get.
But that was a powerful map that you put together, and it still stands. But I believe that maybe now we're at a point that the HSE looks at the map and goes, yep, that's right, that's precisely how we're going to be providing these services. What's your point?
Yeah, I mean, it's scandalous. And I am telling you now, and this is in their chosen career path, or minister and TDs, if they in some way don't come to the fore, because you've seen the pointed email that DACC sent to them, and we have said, is it time to take to the streets? And we've asked them, where will they be standing?
Yeah,
and
well,
the reality is, we don't have, unless there's no point in us, because we've discussed, we had a lengthy meeting yesterday, we've had lengthy meetings over the last few weeks, and there's been discussions about going to Dublin. I've stood outside Dáil Éireann on several occasions. There's protests there really nearly on a daily basis.
I know, Betty, but can I point the camera back on...
It needs to be at Letterkenny.
I know that, but let's point the camera back on ourselves. Will the issue of health get people out into the street? Really?
I'm not sure.
You know?
We talked about this yesterday.
It's just, you could organise it, you could say, right, this is the time for our voices to be heard. You know the situation, if you've had... Most people... when you're in hospital and you get out, everything's brilliant. Even if you waited for 12 hours, it's brilliant, because you just don't want to be in there, and you're so grateful to get out. And if you're in good health at the moment, maybe you don't understand what we're talking about now. I just would have my concern that no one's going to get de-elected a politician on health in this county. I don't think they would. And I just would be concerned, how many would you get? You would need people from the top of Main Street to the bottom of Main Street before it would have an impact.
Well, you're actually, I'm sort of glad to hear you saying it, because yesterday at our meeting, and we had talked about the whole protest. There was a lot of passion going on over the last few weeks about protests and all. And I actually said, I turned around and I said, but if we call this, we have to do this in a short term, because this decision is going to be made literally very shortly. And we have to pull this together. And realistically, unless you're the cardiac patient, or unless you are the family of the cardiac patient, are you going to come and support it? Are we going to get the 15,000 people that we got to get a breast surgeon for Letterkenny Hospital? Is it going to have an impact? And in fact, we got so stressed yesterday, what I actually said to everybody was, why don't you all just get into your car now and we'll drive up to the hospital and we'll see what this unit looks like and what it's about. Just, I'm not sure what to do, Greg, and the rest of us aren't sure, but I am telling you now, if the cath lab and the angiogram service that was provided by the Friends of Letterkenny Hospital and the people of Donegal, and the excellent team of staff, and Mr. David and I can't pronounce his name, up there, and all those staff, that excellence that exists at Letterkenny Hospital that has never, ever been acknowledged or recognised. And if that there is taken out of Letterkenny, it's nearly 14 years since I said Letterkenny Hospital would become the new St. Joseph, the new community hospital. Well, if angiograms do not start in Letterkenny Hospital, we're the new St. Joseph.
Yeah, but I just wonder if that is already the way things are. As I say, we might as well just, Glenveagh's beautiful. I just wonder at this point we might as well all move to Sligo or Dublin and extend Glenveagh right around the county and stick up wind turbines while we're at it, because it doesn't seem to be the planning doesn't seem to be in a way to support us and our health. Stay where you are. I want to bring Kevin in. Hi, Kevin. Kevin, sorry, did I take that in? No, I didn't. Kevin, sorry, there you are. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
Good morning to you. You're a cardiac patient. What's your story?
Well, I'm 9 years up and down to Galway, and I actually had to be airlifted from Letterkenny to Galway at one stage, because when I went in the ambulance, I just wouldn't be here. And the same with the prostate cancer. And all the times up and down over 7 years, maybe twice a year, 3 times a year, to Mr. Hines in Galway. And no great need for it. I could have been seen up here.
Your understanding is if that cath lab was running as it should be, the €750,000 cath lab fund raised by the people of Donegal, you should be able to get what you need done there.
Yes, I thought it was the greatest thing I heard tell of coming to the hospital. And that's me being selfish because of the cardiac issues that I have, right? And I thought, great, with Dr. David, who is a fantastic doctor, Dr. Allian as well, brilliant men, look-see. And all they need is to be given they have the equipment, they need the staff now, and they need to go ahead And every time I went to Galway, I was meeting people from Letterkenny, Donegal. You know, and we've got the same thing now when you go into Derry for treatment. You're meeting, this is cardiology as well in Derry. You're meeting people from Letterkenny, Donegal, all over. Oh, what are we doing?
How often are you up and down from Galway, Kevin, over the years?
Over the years, I would say I've probably done about 25.
Wow.
And that's only for cardiology, I would say. For the prostate, I have done maybe 10.
35 times up and down from Galway.
Yeah.
Right. And
a very expensive taxi that saved my life was the helicopter.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, we politicians that walk around this place with blinkers. They're great at your door when they're looking for election, but then as the strings go on them and the puppeteers up in Dublin just...
I think the public too have a role to play in this, Kevin, in that we accept, you know, a sympathetic nod from our elected representatives, or it's terrible, we're going to have to do something about this, but actually we don't really hold anyone account for it. We don't. There can be a separation between their responsibility. Does that make sense? In other words, you know, you're just saying, geez, this is terrible, you have my 100% support, I'll raise it here and I'll raise it there. But they won't vote against the government on it. No one's going to go up to the Dáil and say that vote last night on the National Maternity Hospital. They're not going to say, because I'm so upset about the situation at Letterkenny University Hospital, I'm actually going to vote against. it. They'll say, no, we see, you're far better off to change things from within. And we accept that, Kevin. And that's just... That's it. There is opportunities all the time for elected politicians to actually stand with the people on really important votes, to use their leverage, but they don't want to do it, and they don't do it.
Greg, there was only one party came to my door at the last election. Only one, because the rest of them knew not to come near me.
But will that party be welcome at your door in 6 years' time, I wonder, Kevin? Because,
well,
you know, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating.
If they don't do what they say, don't come near my door, because you're only going to get told where to go.
All right, Kevin, you're in good health now, hopefully.
Look, Craig, I'm not too bad at
Good
all.
stuff.
See, I'm here and I'm chatting, and that's kind of half the battle.
And I'm glad to have you with us, Kevin. Lovely to speak to you, and continued good health. Betty,
thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I've actually just accidentally cut Betty Holmes off. My apologies. I was going to go back to Betty, but I think we got Betty's point, but I disconnected the wrong line, and I'm so sorry about that. Listen, it is time for us to take a break, though. If you want to get involved in the conversation, 086 60 25,000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport, and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
Quick, write this number down. 91 48 234. Fleming Doors, you know. Industrial doors, garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Sportswear for women at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure in fresh new colours and styles. Nike Pro tees and vests with matching shorts and fitness tights, perfect for working out or just for that leisure look. Under Armour offers new colours, quarter zip tops, t-shirts with matching shorts in different lengths. Complete your fitness look with the latest footwear from Nike, Asics and Brooks. Look the part, play the part, in store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
AB Plant Exports Group are currently buying all types of excavators, loading shovels and backhoes for export from 3 tonne to 70 tonne. Contact AB Plant Exports Group today and you will receive the very best price across Ireland, north and south. For more information, contact AB Plant Exports Group on 0873 779966.
Get cash for trash at Curry's. Bring your old, broken, unwanted tech into your local Curry store this month. We'll recycle it for free and give you €5 off your next purchase. Plus, with mega deals now on, we've got massive savings across the store. So get into your local Curry store today. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
Wetsuit on and underwater by 8.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
All right, we're joined on the programme now by Councillor Jack Murray, the Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Rick.
Good to have you with us. Right, okay, now we're hoping to see big development in your town in Buncrana and wider Inishowen, of course, benefits. And there is an opportunity for people to have their input, is that correct?
There is, and I'm really looking forward to this event. It promises to be a very positive and engaging event. This Monday, 23rd, in Inishowen Gateway Hotel, from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, there'll be a public consultation on a number of issues that I think are very exciting for Buncrana, and ones that the public could be demanding for some time.
Right, so it's 3 major projects. Talk us through them, Jack.
Yeah, the main one, well, sorry, not the main one because they're all very significant, but one I think of particular interest is the Buncrana Leisure Centre. We've got the architect's design of how that will look. There'll be those large information signage that people can come in and see what the plan is. There'll be like a reenacted video, 3D video, that'll take people on a tour through the proposed leisure centre. So that's an issue of huge importance to the people of Buncrana. So I hope they can come down and see. And
yeah, one question on that will be its delivery date, because you know yourself, it's a very emotive one. Do we have any idea of the leisure centre's delivery date before we talk about the other 2 projects?
No, but I would hope within the next 18 months, I would like to see it being developed. So, and there will be, if people want to come and ask, there'll be council staff there. Myself, obviously, Kieran, other councillors may attend as well, and they can engage in that discussion. I would say that we've ring-fenced money now in our capital budget within the council. We approved a €20 million loan to draw down match funding for government grants just last week. Buncrana Leisure Centre was mentioned in tranche 2 of that, so that will hopefully come into effect in next year's loan. So we are moving. We have money now identified. I'd be very confident that we are moving forward with this. And of course, we wouldn't have taken this forward to an architect's design if we didn't intend fully on seeing this through, because I think it's the one. Obviously, the issues of MICA is the primary issue for all of us as a community in Inishowen, wider Donegal. But I think as far as local amenities are concerned, I think the leisure centre is the one big.
Oh yeah, there has to be multiple tracks of progress for sure. Now the other two projects, which will be there'll be information on.
Yeah, the repowering Buncrana project. I would have been on speaking on your show a number of months ago when we had secured €1.8 million for the design. That's to totally reimagine Buncrana's shorefront and nearby areas. Purchase like the Garda station for office facilities, but it's extremely exciting. We hope to draw down in total €20 million for that. So again, there'll be the council's proposed concept of what's going to happen, the likes of the footbridge over from the Maze of Grace Park over to the pier, grandstand coming down for festivals down the shorefront, new high quality amenities like tourist spots, Church Street being completely redeveloped, and parts of the main street being reimagined. So again, this is such a huge project that could change Buncrana for generations. So I think it's hugely important that the people of Buncrana have their say in this, have ownership over this. At this point, it's a design, it's an idea, and it was done by professionals and planners and architects. But really, we want to say, what do the people of Buncrana want? What would you change? What do you think could be added as we move forward for the next tranche of funding, which I say will be €18.5 million. Huge. Like, it's probably the largest piece of public investment in Buncrana ever.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And the third project?
That's the local area plan. Again, this is, particularly when you talk about the mica problem, this is hugely significant. Buncrana has a huge shortage of housing at the minute. We're going to need a lot more. We're going to need it very, very quickly as houses start to get demolished and people need to be rehoused or temporarily rehoused. So, and there's also significant problems in some areas of Buncrana, large swathes of Buncrana, where you simply can't get planning permission. So, again, the planners are reviewing this. As councillors, we'll be reviewing it, and we'll be looking to identify lands that need to be zoned for housing, for commercial development as well. Buncrana have been informed as 50% of inquiries about direct investment into County Donegal are inquiries about Buncrana. So Buncrana has massive economic potential for County Donegal.
For sure, and that particular development, all of it for that matter, has to be done right. It has to be appropriate for the area, and it has to be planned out, proper access, proper infrastructure, and even future proofed.
Exactly, and that's why I thought it was so important to call this meeting. As I hear, look, that I want the people of Buncrana, everyone, to come in, have their say. I would say too that from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, it'll be informal. All the information will be there. People can just walk through at their own leisure, have a look, read some of the information, and there will be people there on hand that you can have an informal conversation with, ask your questions, put forward your ideas. We'll be taking ideas on the day, and then there'll be a more formal Q&A, which I'll be chairing then from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And again, that'll give anybody the opportunity to come in, put forward what they think should happen in Buncrana, their ideas, their concepts, or questions. So I just think at this point, when there's so much potential that we can be moving forward with now, that it's led primarily by the community and by the citizens of Buncrana. And I suppose those of us that have children growing up in the town and want to see it a better place for them to live their lives. So I do think it's a very positive and welcome development for the town. So I'd hope that we do get the buy-in and we do get a large turnout on the day.
I mean, this is an opportunity for the people of Buncrana and surrounding areas to have some ownership of this, to have their fingerprints on it. There's because sometimes we forget about these events, and then after a fact, people go, well, this is no good, it should have been done like that. But, if you've got a view, if you've got an opinion, you want input, this is the time to do it, because I know the planners do take on board. Listen, a couple of things here. Every time one of you councillors come on, it ends up being like a little clinic. Maybe it's something we should be doing in the future. Any plans to fix the town side of the Castle Bridge? It's not wheelchair or pushchair accessible.
I don't know the plans offhand, but again, that's an idea that can be put forward. Absolutely,
I think they're probably looking for something more immediate in that regard, Councillor, instead of long fingering it to a greater plan.
Yeah, of course, and look, that's an idea. It's not something that was actually brought to my attention recently, but I can see as it's put forward exactly why it is needed, and that's definitely something we should.
Paula, why don't you comment on your views of raw sewage flowing into the Swilly? Is that something you're concerned about?
I'm massively concerned about that. It was very, very bad news that we saw the poor water quality at Ladies Bay announced last week. It's something we would have been highlighting for some time, all councillors across the board. But I think that's just the stark warning sign now that I think Irish Water particularly would need to see and to move their sewage coming out.
Has contact, been made with Irish Water for them to explain what the situation is, what their plans are?
There has, and it's ongoing. Like this, I know it's kind of in the headlines now, and because it's such a bad warning, but this is ongoing years. Look at the sewage running from the Swannon into the Ladies Bay, and we shouldn't just be looking just to address that problem and bring it up to acceptable quality. We need to be getting that as a blue flag beach. This is extremely popular,
especially when there is it seems to be a positive drive in the area. You don't want anything detracting from it. Do you have an idea when the work on Dunree Fort's going to start? That's a huge one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's another massively positive development for Buncrana. It's €12.5 million. Look, when these things are all packaged together, I think there's a lot of positivity in Buncrana.
Your beard could be grey by the time that's all sorted, Jack.
Well, in Dunree, the money's there again. That's when I said about the €20 million that the council approved for match funding. Dunree was in tranche 1, so in the next week or so, we'll be looking to draw down that money and have the match funding. So the money is allocated at government level. We're securing the money at council level to match fund it.
Brilliant stuff. So hopefully that's sooner rather than later. This is just a comment, really. One possible improvement would be the removal of the two big fruit of the loom chimneys eyesore on the shorefront. But presumably, you know, there's a lot of things that are going to have to make way for the significant development we're talking about here, Jack.
Yeah. Well, that's privately owned at the minute. But again, look, the potential of that fruit of the loom site as you enter the town. Ultimately, we'd like to see some development there that would benefit the wider town, but it's just that bit more difficult when it's public or private ownership.
Of course, but that's part of an ongoing conversation, I'm sure. So this event, a significant event, it's in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel. It's this Monday, the 23rd of May. Talk to me again, finally, just about the time structures, the time for people to look around at the plans and stuff and ask questions, and then tell me how that day is going to unfold, just the start time and the finish time, please, Jack.
Yeah, and I suppose it just shows you just in the short time we've been on here, many people are texting in with ideas and questions, so hopefully we'll have a day full of that. But it'll be from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock will be the informal drop-in, where the signage will be available so people can go in, walk through and discuss it with there'll be the planners and architects. Myself will be there, and then from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock will be the open questions and answers session. So it's this Monday 23rd in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel.
All right, and it's all positive. Good stuff. Thanks very much indeed. I appreciate it. Councillor Jack Murray there, the Caherlock of Donegal County Council. Coming up after 11, we are going to be in the garden with Paul. If you have any gardening questions, please get in touch with us. 086 60 25,000. You know yourself, I don't think I need to give you examples. Anything from a potted plant to a sprawling lawn, whatever it might be, and everything in between, and trees and hedges and all that manner of stuff. 086 60 25,000. Get your WhatsApps and texts in now. We're also going to be going through your comments in the next hour as well. Lots of you getting involved in the conversation. Emotive stuff, particularly when it comes to health and health services. That and so much more besides. You know, there's a possibility here. You know, we are at are we at a crossroads in terms of health provision in this county? You know, we have control here. We've seen recently if people have a view and they organise and express that view, how things can change and that how people have to step up and take notice. But it would take those of us who maybe aren't currently impacted by these things to say, you know what, someone in my family was, or maybe I might be in the future. That's probably what it's going to take. I feel we are at a crossroads here. You know, not immediately, not like between today and tomorrow, but certainly over the course of the next number of years. That's been said, you know. I wonder how the outcome of the census might change. The population of Donegal is predicted to grow hugely over the next number of years. Letterkenny as well. Maybe that could be the catalyst for improved services.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
If you're thinking of changing some furniture, a huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture, with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale now on at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Live exports soar as new markets beckon. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Israeli market to open for Irish weanlings as beef price heads for €6 a kilo. Dairy cow reduction scheme on the cards. We have the details. We have advice for your silage trailer health check, and we share top tips for sheep dipping and tagging.
Plus, we have all you need to know as a consumer before booking your summer holiday. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Treat your garden to a makeover at GMG Stone Letterkenny. We offer great value on decorative stone, garden paving, slabs and artificial grass, all tailored to your needs with home delivery available. We also supply railway sleepers, whiskey barrels and place sand, all available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday to Saturday from 9:30am to 6pm. You will find us beside Donaghy Motorhomes on the Port Road. For an appointment, call 087 647 9121. GMG Stone, just what your garden needs.
This Friday, Around the Northwest is celebrating with a business marking 50 years in Letterkenny. We'll be live from Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, who first opened at Lower Main Street in May of 1972. We'll be chatting about the changes over the years and about Eamon putting his best foot forward so others can too. So join me, John Breslin, live this Friday from 12 on Around the Northwest at Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
Let BizPrint the Printers help with your business marketing and printing to get your 2022 vision off to the right start. BizPrint the Printers, Port Road, Letterkenny. Call 91 77955 or see bizprint.ie.
Hiya.
11 years, Sarah. 11 years.
Oh my God, is everything okay?
It's all off.
You and Paul?
No, my bank. We're breaking up.
Oh, Jane. There's plenty more fish in the CCPC money tool.
Breaking up with your bank? Search for your new match using CCPC's free independent current account money tool. Find your new account now at ccpc.ie/move. From the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission.
Come along to Beaver Log Cabins Big Weekend, Saturday 21st and Sunday 22nd of May. Beaver Log Cabins are Ireland's biggest bespoke log cabin company, with quality cabins, home offices, hot tubs, gazebos and more. Located in Bonamy and Bridgend, this family-friendly weekend features a range of offers, discounts, prizes and promotions. See beaverlogcabins.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a city break this summer? You can now fly twice weekly to beautiful Cologne in Germany every Sunday and Thursday with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
All right, mainly dry with sunny spells today. Scattered showers in the afternoon. Temperatures 15 to 17 degrees and fresh and gusty south to southwest winds. Strong to near gale force at times along the coast. It is just a minute past 11 now. It's time for a news update, and we say good morning once again now to Donald Kavanagh.
Thanks, Craig. Good morning. One of Donegal's representatives on the HSE's Western Regional Forum is calling for immediate clarity on the future of the angiogram service in Donegal and recognition that the cath lab at Letterkenny University Hospital should be fully commissioned. The Friends of the Hospital have raised €750,000 as a local contribution to provide the service, with claims that the HSE has effectively reneged on the agreement to provide a cath lab. Yesterday, the Chief Executive Tony Canavan told Greg on the 9 till noon show that a 3-person expert panel is looking at the situation and will make recommendations shortly. Councillor Kieran Brogan says the service at the hospital at present is excellent and the ongoing arrangement with Athlegavan is working well. He says it's worrying that all that could be jeopardised, particularly at a time when one of the top cardiologists in the country is based at LUH. The government is now operating with a wafer-thin majority after the expulsion of 2 TDs from the Green Party. Nasa Hourigan and Patrick Costello lost the party whip when they voted with Sinn Fein on a non-binding motion calling for the National Maternity Hospital to be built on public land. It brings the coalition's Dáil majority down to just 1. And the Nishoan Councillor is calling for a full briefing on plans for the implementation of the Tús Nua regeneration programme announced last year for Carndonagh. Councillor Albert Doherty says the plan will see millions invested in the town and its environs, but it wasn't referenced at a special meeting last Friday to agree a loan to provide matching funding for major projects. He said he has received verbal assurances from senior officials that things are progressing, but he wants a more detailed briefing. There was tension at an Oireachtas committee meeting last night during which representatives of the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority were questioned regarding the Killybegs fish weighing controversy. During the hearing, the SFPA's Executive Chair Pascal Hayes outlined the authority's legal reasoning for insisting on 5% of pelagic catches being weighed at the pierside. He said manipulation of prior systems of checks from the industry spurred the EU to introduce stricter measures. The Housing Minister says accommodation being provided to Ukrainian refugees is not intended to be permanent. Darragh O'Brien was asked why so many buildings can be repurposed for refugees, but they weren't found to address the housing crisis before now. The Housing Minister said the accommodation being provided is effectively emergency shelter. And Fine Gael TD Neil Richmond says a border poll could be called at any point in the next decade. He wants the government to begin preparations now. He says it's time to establish an Oireachtas committee to work through the detail of what a united Ireland might look like. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much indeed, Donald. Okay, coming up very shortly, Paul's going to be joining us in the garden. He's not going to be in the garden, he's going to be talking about your garden, your planting, whatever it is, you know yourself. 086 60 25,000. Right, let's get to your texts and comments here. Thanks to the people who are trying to sort this out. I've had experience with people with heart problems. We're from a big county. We need this service. Greg, I think it's time we in Donegal need to take to the streets as we did during the Micah issue. We have to demand our local politicians to get on board and put our politicians locally, put it to them that they will fight for more in Donegal. Hi Greg, Dr. David is a top class surgeon, probably the best in this country for the next. But his great expertise 5 years ago probably would not have been around today thanks to him. Okay, so he's the best in the country, and thanks to his expertise, this person is alive and texting us. What a gift to be able to give someone to have that skill in your hands. Regarding the maternity hospital issue, Greg, do you think politicians should be allowed to abstain from the vote, as so many did? Should it not have been a yes or no vote? They should have a view or a reasonable defence for abstaining on an issue that is so important. Yeah, of course, but their reason probably would be that this has been decided at ministerial level. It's a fait accompli, and abstaining, there's no point voting because they've already passed it, if you know what I mean. So maybe that's one argument. Did we not? Do we need a march in Letterkenny? If you want things to change, probably the only way you're going to achieve it. Why isn't Minister McConalogue being pulled up over the coals regarding LUH? Well, you see, he's raising the issue in the Dáil, so he would say, I'm a minister for Donegal and I'm highlighting this at the highest political level and demanding answers. The reason we're treated as second-class citizens in Donegal is because we accept every government decision submissively. Our elected reps don't collectively campaign on our behalf. Take a look at how things are done in Kerry, another county far from the pale. Until we take to the streets of Dublin, nothing will change. Politicians are not interested. They haven't got a heart, according to that listener. I think, realistically, personally, and I know nothing really, but I just think you could call a protest for Dublin. I would be surprised if you got more than 500-600 people there. These protests at that level happen daily almost, and I don't know what that might achieve. The protest on Micah, obviously very different. The crowd was absolutely enormous. It's those type of numbers that are required really for people to step up and take notice. A lot of Dublin called protests get an awful lot of backing on social media, and no one turns up. The exception being, of course, the protest over defective blocks. A caller says, I appeal to those who have a voice to lobby hard to keep the services in Letterkenny. I am one of those who travel to Blackrock and Galway. They are not pleasant journeys. Another, my husband is a type 1 diabetic. He got an emergency referral from his GP because he had gangrene in his toe. He sat in the ED for 16 hours, was sent home and told he would get a referral. He never got it. We drove to Galway ourselves, sat in the ED for 4 hours. He was operated on the next day. He was days away from losing his leg. So let's talk about the scenario, the experience in two hospitals. This caller's husband had gangrene in his toe, type 1 diabetic, sent to Letterkenny University Hospital by his doctor. He was there for 16 hours and then sent home, told he'd get a referral. They got in the car, drove to Galway, walked into the ED there. He was seen in 4 hours and had an operation the next day. Now, how can that be? A caller says, thanks to Betty Holmes for representing us. I hope to God your voice is heard. Where are our local politicians? I'm so frustrated that the people we are voting for are not helping us. I think there's one issue at the moment that politicians would not get elected because of, and that's Micah, the defective blocks issue. I think that's the one issue. And some might say, no, I'm not necessarily saying this, but some might say that's the one they want at the front. Whenever they're talking about anything else, stick that one out to the front first because that's the most important one. Some cynical people, and I'm cynical, but not in this course, not in this conversation necessarily, might say, well, that's the one, regardless of what party, regardless if you know party. Mike is the one issue that might get you into bother at the election. But it's not health, is it? It's not housing. It's not the cost of living, maybe.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Hear that? It's wonderful, isn't it? The sound of appreciation, of love, of gratitude and joy. Yeah, let's hear it for our ears. Love your ears. Book a free hearing test at hiddenhearing.ie. Your hearing is our expertise.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Are you switched on to your energy rights? If you're worried about rising energy costs and are having difficulty paying your gas and electricity bills, you should contact your supplier. Suppliers are required to assist customers in genuine financial difficulty and can put in place payment arrangements to help you manage your energy bills. If you qualify as a vulnerable customer due to health, age, or for other reasons, you can register with your supplier for additional protections. Switch on to your rights and visit cru.ie. Brought to you by the Commission for Regulation of Utilities.
The 21st of May 2022 will mark the 90th anniversary of Amelia Earhart's historic landing in Derry, Londonderry, when she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic solo. A number of events are taking place this weekend, 20th to 22nd of May, to celebrate her legacy. Visit www.derrystrabane.com/what's-on/Amelia Earhart 90 for the programme of events.
And you're welcome back. Right, we are in the studio with Paul McLaughlin from Ballochder Garden Centre, Letterkenny. Paul, welcome back onto the show. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Grace.
What's the story?
Story.
Why have you pushed that microwave mic so far away from you? That's it. Don't be shy. It won't bite you. Won't sting you.
Sorry. So story is good. The weather's still not exactly playing ball. It's sort of very unpredictable and unsettled, but it's hopefully going the right direction anyway.
Yeah, it's consistently mild though,
Yes.
day and night, which is the big king. But it's rain, sun. We're getting so many different seasons all at the one time.
Yeah.
Hopefully June will be better. Right. Is there anything in particular you think we should be at in the garden that's changed since you were last in?
Pretty much bedding plant season has really started. That's sort of our traditional real busy period.
Last time we spoke to you, you were saying, well, maybe leave it a week or so, but you're happy enough you can
Pretty
go
much,
at it.
Like you say, it's consistently mild now all the time, so there's no big danger of frost coming. But it's all fairly good to go, so it is.
Yeah, that's what we want. Right, so the risk of frost is gone. That's the main problem with bedding plants, isn't it? So we're through that now. Right, so, I mean, I always want to talk to people who haven't gardened before, and they listen to this item and they go, it's not for me, or I don't know where to start, right? Because, but they might say, maybe a bit of colour around the house would be nice. It could be on a windowsill. You don't have to have a big garden. What are the benefits of bedding plants?
Benefits of bedding plants, they really do. Like, a lot of people see them as a sign of summer's here, like add a real splash of colour. You see some of the businesses around the town there, even people's houses just covered in flowers this time of year, and it's real just cheerfulness. It just brings cheerfulness and adds colour, and it's actually very good. If you have people sit out more this time of year in their gardens, so you're getting things. So if you have like a dull area of the garden, just by putting a pot into it, and it just instantly brightens up the whole area. And because it's a pot as well, it's not like a big bed. It's very manageable for people. Say somebody starting out in gardening, very manageable. Look after a pot next year, have a couple of pots, and then sort of go from there.
Yep. So you could be living in an upstairs apartment or something. If you've got an outdoor space, you can put a pot in there.
Windowsill, balcony, anything. There's plants suitable for every area.
Do they have to get any sun?
Ideally, to get the full benefit of flowering, they will get a decent amount, a couple of hours of sunshine a day. You can sort of, if you have a dull area, you can pick plants to suit. Some plants actually like quite dull, damp areas. So there are plenty of advice there in garden centres where people can actually advise you on plants to suit every area.
Yeah, but enjoy them. Make sure you get to glance at them. They brighten up your life on a daily basis.
And they're not overly expensive, so it's sort of trial and error as you go.
Yeah, right. Now, in terms of their maintenance, a lot of water, but not too much water. What's the story there? And in terms of feed, how often should you be feeding?
Yeah, pretty much water is actually a thing. Water is the key to the whole thing. So it is. Once they're watered, pretty much they're a fast-growing plant, so it can fend off most sort of attacks from anything, basically. Water, if you get into the habit of checking them every day, they may not need watered every day, but if you get into the habit, you'll sort of
What are you
know.
checking? Is it the soil? Is it the...
Pretty much the soil, the compost in the pot or whatever. Just obviously if the surface is damp, you're not too bad. And if you actually just use your fingernail as a gauge, if you stick your finger into the compost, the depth of your fingernail, if it's dry down at that point,
Yeah, because the top's going to potentially always look dry because it'd be wind dried and sun dried. It's really where the roots are at's what you're checking for,
exactly.
is it?
Okay. But generally get into June, July, you're realistically going to be probably watering every evening.
Yeah, okay. Which is kind of therapeutic anyway. It's
yes,
once you get into the routine.
You're guaranteed half an hour out in the fresh air.
How often might they, if at all, need a little boost?
Boosting, generally, it's a good idea. Because you want a lot out of your plants, you're going to have to put the stuff in as well. So generally every 2 weeks. You can use sort of powdered form stuff like Miracle Grow, that sort of stuff. Or very much in fashion at the minute would be seaweed. It's actually, they're good seaweed products made now in Donegal that are perfect feed for your bedding plants.
Now, they will look like they're dying, but they will come back. This is where the deadheading comes into it, is it?
Yes, deadheading is important for 2 reasons. By taking the dead heads and the spent flowers off your plants, you're sort of disrupting the plant's life cycle. And what that's doing is you're denying it the opportunity to produce a seed. And by doing that, the flower goes, oh no, after losing my seed, I'll produce another flower. So they'll continue to flower that way. And by deadheading as well, you're generally tidying it up and you're sort of removing the spent flowers out of it.
And how often, I mean, like at what point do you do that? Because, you know, they can sort of look half knackered.
Probably, it depends how regular you are with it or how much it's actually, if there's loads of flowers on the pot, you could sort of take them out.
Yeah, and the gaps will be filled very quickly too, wouldn't
exactly,
they?
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You nip it how far down from the base of the flower itself?
Pretty much from the base of the flower, you go back to stem maybe about an inch.
Yeah, all right, okay.
That, and just nip it with your sort of thumbnail.
And just to make sure that they're not being killed off by anything, what should you be looking out for?
Once again, if you're in the process of sort of watering them every evening, it's very easy to spot pests and diseases as they come up. The most common thing probably would be green fly, which is quite easily treated. Once again, the quicker you spot a problem, the easier it is dealt with.
Yeah, of course, yeah. If one plants bulbs in pots now, do we need to keep them indoors until they come out, or can they be left outside? This is a person with just the slightest tinge of green on their fingers. They're
right.
new to the game.
Yeah. I suppose it depends what sort of bulbs is involved, but no, generally pretty much anything will be ground outside at this stage.
Yeah, okay. I'm wondering where's the best place to keep young hydrangea plants over the winter months. These young plants were grown from cuttings the past spring. Well, we're through the winter now, but are they looking towards next year?
Quite possibly. Hydrangeas would be probably the most popular thing to grow from cuttings or from slips. So generally a sheltered place where they're actually going to be sort of out of harsh winds, say around the back of a shed or something where they're going to sort of get regular water and just keep a wee eye on them for water so they don't dry out.
Okay, I grew a small wildflower patch this year. I'm wondering what is the best way to allow these wildflowers to grow again next year without having to sow new seeds. Most of the flowers seem to be marigold corn.
Yes, something like that. Ideally, you would have done it maybe at the back end of last year, sort of September, October, as the flowers were starting to fade. A lot of people just go in and strim it and let the grass base or the flowers fall down. And what that does is that knocks off all the seed heads with the process of the strimmer, so it sort of redistributes the seeds. So pretty much give it a few weeks now and see what's coming up. And if you think it's a bit sparse, it might be an idea just to get a small packet of seeds and scattered over.
All right, if you dig up tulip and daffodil bulbs, how do you store them? Thank you.
Dig up tulip and daffodil bulbs. What I would tend to do is sort of take the whole area of soil with me as best you could and put it into a big pot. Like in terms of digging them up and storing them, it's normally be sort of end of the summer you'd be digging them up and then you'd sort of dry them out. But if you're actually going to replant them again in the relatively near future, I think just take the whole area of soil with you and put it into a pot. Just let it over summer in that.
Yeah. Caller says there are no apple petals or blossoms on the apple trees.
Yes. There should be at this stage, pretty much. Some varieties are a wee bit later than others, but generally there should be some sign of blossom. Might be a wee bit late this year, but it's a good idea anyway to encourage flowering and to treat the tree with potash, sulphate of potash.
Hydrangeas and rhododendrons, they're all burnt from the storm. They've turned black.
Yes.
Is that?
Rhododendrons doesn't change the leaves very often. If you give them a wee feed, even a wee boost now with something like Miracle Grow, something like that, there will help to bring them on. The hydrangeas won't be long recovering. They're actually quite vigorous plants, so they'll recover quite quickly.
Yeah. If I have a section of uncut grass in my garden, is that enough to attract pollinators? Do I need pollinator-friendly plants amongst the grass, or is the grass in and of itself and what might pop up between it enough?
Yes, generally a lot of the scientists would tell you that the best thing to do for wildlife in your garden is to do nothing. Just let it go. And if one of the best, two of the best plants for our pollinators at this time of year is clover, which naturally comes up through grass, and your dandelions, which naturally comes up. So generally, I'd say what they're doing is probably the proper thing. Just leave it alone, and nature will take care of itself.
All right, I have an old stone building I want to convert into an apartment. It has had ivy on it for a number of years. I can't pull it off because it's attached to the stone work. How will I remove it? You answered this last time, so might as well go through it again.
Yeah, generally what you do, ivy is a sort of slow process because there's such a grip on the stonework. But the best thing you do is just cut it off at the base and remove like about a 6 inch or a foot piece of the stem to make sure that it doesn't reattach itself, and let it die back naturally over the course of about 9 months or a year. It should loosen its grip, and then you can remove it safely.
What causes staph on an apple tree, and how can it be avoided? Staph? I don't know.
Not sure what that is.
It might be a misspell. We'll get that answered again. I had lots of daffodils. They're starting to brown and wither now. Can I run them over with the lawnmower? Because they're on the edge of the lawn.
Yes,
You know,
it's very tempting. So it is, but all the books and all the science will tell you not to, because what they've done, they've actually taken on all the power from the sun over the last while. It is stored in the green leaves, and it's stored in the green leaves. And the ideal thing is to let that die down naturally back into the bulb. What some people can do with them there is to actually fold up them, basically, and tie them into a knot, or even tie them down with an elastic band. Gets them sort of away out of sight.
But they don't lose their energy reserves that way.
No,
whereas with the lawnmower,
you're taking away the energy reserves, you see.
Okay, listen, Paul, I have to rush through it a little bit today. Thank you so much for calling in to us.
Very good, thank you, Greg.
Busy for you, I'm sure.
Yes, busy, very busy at the moment.
All right, fantastic. Listen, Paul, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Greg.
Paul McLaughlin there, he's the gardener at Bannockdore Garden Centre, Letterkenny, just down the road from us here, isn't it, Paul? It is, yeah. So if you want to call down and have a chat with Paul and the team there, you're more than welcome. Okay, we're back with our next guest shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport, and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire, exclusive stockists of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade-in service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 9126276.
Fly with Loganair from City of Derry to Edinburgh and immerse yourself in the live shows and street food of the Fringe Festival this summer, with discounts for children aged 11 and under.
Fly with me. I want to take you there. Precious moments of this journey to where homeward bound again.
Book now at loganair.co.uk. 15 kilo luggage allowance as standard.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Come along to Beaver Log Cabins big weekend, Saturday 21st and Sunday 22nd of May. Beaver Log Cabins are Ireland's biggest bespoke log cabin company, with quality cabins, home offices, hot tubs, gazebos and more. Located in Bonamy and Bridgend, this family-friendly weekend features a range of offers, discounts, prizes and promotions. See beaverlogcabins.ie.
Okay, Friday marks International Trial Day. Cancer Trials Ireland, they're hosting also a public seminar marking International Clinical Trials Day. Just Ask campaign urges patients to ask doctors if a trial is suitable for them. Right, we are joined on the programme by a couple of guests. I'll first introduce Evelyn Munro, who's CEO of Cancer Trials Ireland. Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you with us. Right, now, I think a lot of people might go, well, if I go on a trial, right, that might stop me getting, the tried and tested treatment, and I could be down there, I could be part of the group that gets a placebo while others get the treatment, and I'm not prepared to roll those dice. Is there anything to that thinking and feeling like that?
No, and I'm really glad you asked that question, Greg. Thanks very much for having us. When you're on a cancer clinical trial in Ireland, the placebo is the best standard of care treatment in cancer. So irrespective of whether you're on what we call the investigational arm or the placebo arm, you will always be getting the best care and the best treatment available.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that is important. Now, when something, by the time it gets to trial stage, right, I presume there has been already investigations done to get to a point whereby it could work, it's likely to work, maybe it's been seen to work.
Yeah.
So a clinical trial, that would be at a relatively advanced stage of a new treatment, would it?
It would, and I suppose we've all been through our own clinical trial with COVID over the last 2 years, and we've all become really expert at watching, what happens in clinical trials, particularly with vaccines. I would say in Ireland, we're not doing first in man or first in human trials in this country. Generally, when we're organising clinical trials in cancer, they're what we call phase 2 and phase 3. They've already been tested in humans. They've been tested for safety, which is important. So what we're looking for is efficacy. Does it actually work in the question that we're asking, in the disease area that we're asking the research question in? And I think that's very often, this is not a hard sell for people who have cancer where maybe there are no treatments, or there are treatments that are there aren't optimal. They want to get access to those investigational drugs. They want to get on those trials. So that's a good thing for us.
And in terms of, and I think one of the myths actually you meant that's you're trying to dispel, presumably, is that you're a guinea pig. The person is far beyond that, and I presume they'll also get a very high level of care, perhaps even, with no disrespect to the rest of the health service, might even a higher level of care and scrutiny.
100%. So I could have put it better myself, and there's loads of research around that to show that if you've got a hospital ward that's doing a lot of clinical trials, the standard of care goes up. Because if you actually hurt your knee in a game of football and you're on a clinical trial, you will be brought straight into the clinic to observe you and the effects of that in the context of the trial. So everything that happens to your body during a clinical trial is monitored closely by the clinical research nurses and doctors and the whole team. So you are getting a better standard of care, and that's why we're advocating for more clinical trials in Ireland, because not only is it offering patients more treatment, it's offering better standards of care.
But is the onus too much on the patient to go to a doctor, particularly in a very stressful situation, even when they're sort of being told that the treatment options that are available to you may not really be worth putting you through for the potential outcomes? Are GPs leading this, or medical professionals leading this, or is it up to people? Because I know one thing, say, just ask. Should we, in that moment where clarity can't be sought, and often people can't even remember the moment they've had that conversation. Are we putting too much emphasis on the patient to just ask?
I completely get where you're coming from. As a patient advocate, when you're sitting in that room and the doctor is telling you have cancer, sometimes you don't even hear what they're saying. And that's very often where you need to have one of your family members, probably the family member that's the best at listening and taking down notes and understanding what's going on. Even if you have a clinician or a nurse or something in your family, it's important, because you're not taking it all in. And you're absolutely right, the onus shouldn't be on the patient. But very often, in this space, patients want to know more and patients want to drive it. And unfortunately, within our system, we don't have enough clinical trials happening. So a clinical trial might be happening in Dublin, that's not happening in Galway. And if a patient asks, look, you know what, I'm really interested in trials, that gives the doctor the opportunity to say, well, actually, we do have something happening in another site or in that site. And I think it's no harm, but the members of Cancer Trials Ireland who are involved in clinical trials will always screen patients, and most of our hospitals in the country, they have meetings every week about the cancer patient in their hospital, and it's called a multidisciplinary team meeting. That's where they're all together talking about you, the patient, and very often it's at that point that the clinical research nurse or doctor will say, do we have a trial for this patient? So it isn't the onus is not just on the patient. And I have to say, you can't log on to cancertrials.ie and get yourself on a trial. Yeah. It's a conversation between yourself and your doctor, your cancer doctor.
Do you have any statistics as it relates to how many people who are offered a trial to take part in a clinical trial accepted?
Yeah, well, we actually, we're going to launch some research tomorrow, and within each of the different disease areas, it depends on the type of trial. So you could have, like, with a trial where there's no other treatment available, where it's, you're going to have a patient, somebody talking now next, I can guarantee you, anyone that was asked to partake on that trial took it. So, and as long as they pass the screen, so you have to pass through and ensure that you're eligible to be on the trial, they would take it. But if you're being asked to partake in a clinical trial that maybe isn't going to enhance your quality of life, that's a different ask. And I don't have all the stats in front of me, but it depends on the type of trial. But I don't want to steal the thunder of the next person speaking.
It's Aidan,
that's a really good example.
It's Aidan McNamara, who's from Knocknacarra, Galway. Aidan, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
It's great to have you with us. Right, okay. So you did what we're supposed to do, particularly when we reach a certain age, or we're over a certain age, is go for your annual NCT, your annual checkup with the GP. Tell us how that went for you. Back 2013, something was flagged.
Yeah, I'd be fastidious, really, Greg, every year to go and see my GP. So, for instance, I went 2012 and all results came back perfect. Then I usually go on my birthday, which is in February. I went 2013. And a week later he rang me and he said, could I send you to a consultant? I'm concerned about your white blood cells. So he sent me to Janis Krautchek, consultant, hematologist. And he discovered, or he came back to me saying I had CLL, which is chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which to me is elevated white blood cells.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And what are the treatment options for that, or what were you told at that time by your medical professional?
There were no treatment options. It's a system called watch and wait. And of course I said, wait for what? And he said, you'll certainly know when the wait happens, So...
So it's whether or not the blood cell count stayed as it was, or whether it would...
Oh, it was rising and it may drop back a bit and it would rise again. So I was going every 6 months to this and I would just say, we're still waiting. And I said, well, waiting for what? Yeah. And he said, you'll know.
So was it like, I don't mean this in a religious sense, but it must have felt like you're in purgatory there. You're not well, totally, but you're not sick enough for a treatment, or there's no treatment plan as such.
There's no treatment plan. And then 2020, Dr. Krautchek asked me, would I be interested in a clinical trial? And I said, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course. And I jumped at the chance, and I'm so delighted I did.
All right. So that began relatively recently then, didn't it?
It began in December, early December.
Okay. And how is this a particularly, new inventive approach, or what is the nature of this treatment that didn't exist before?
Well, these are all drugs and oral drugs and infusion drugs that are existing already. So it's run by Cologne University. So I was on a randomized selection for either one drug, two drugs, or a drug and infusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was drawn out as a drug plus infusion. So that meant I was going to UHG in Galway, and I can only praise the nurses and doctors there, they were brilliant in Claddagh ward. So I was an inpatient for 3 or 4 days, and I'd be getting an infusion and then starting oral drugs as well for chemo.
And is the success or otherwise of this treatment trackable? In other words, you are 4 or 5 or 6 months into the treatment so far. It's 12 months of treatment. Are the doctors able to determine if it's having a desired impact?
Yes, of course. Every day I take, I'm now at the stage where I don't have to go back to hospital for an inpatient. I just go back once a month now for an infusion, and I have 4 chemo oral tablets every morning. And I fill out my forms for my clinical nurses. I have 3 clinical nurses who are brilliant: Sarah, Michelle, and Marion. And I bring this back then at the end of the month, and I presume this all goes back to Cologne University, and they do their trials this way, you know.
Okay, right.
Just to say on that, I mean, that there were over, Aidan, it's lovely to talk to you, and I met some of that team 2 days ago in Galway University Hospital. They're absolutely delighted with the trial. We have over 60 patients in Ireland on it. Remember, we opened this trial during the pandemic. You know,
yes, that's right.
Very difficult time for a patient to go in and out of hospital. Very brave.
That's true.
For all the patients who did. But this was a trial that I think is fair to say, Aidan, you and the others were waiting for.
And you've seen a decrease in your white blood cell count.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm actually now taking an injection once a week to increase my white blood cells. It's so good, the whole setup, you know.
All right, Aidan, and it gives you a pathway. It gives you something to have your head on. You know, as opposed this thing of I'm sick, but there's no treatment and wait and see. Every time you go back to see the doctor, it's just an absolute. You know, at least there's some structure. We have a chemical, I think, that allows us, when we know what we're dealing with, to deal with it. But when there's uncertainty or we don't know what's going on, that's when we struggle a bit. Well, many of us do, Aidan.
Yeah. Totally. Right. And I'm delighted with this.
Super stuff. And you've not really had too many side effects. No loss of hair. What's your general sickness feeling like?
No nausea, no nothing. Maybe I'm unusual in this, but I'm just so lucky, you know.
Well, good to hear it. Listen, we'd like to hear that too. Thanks very much, Aidan. Continued success for that for you. What about the feeling that? What about the emotion of, say, for instance, you say, right, okay, I'm going to try this, and then you fail the screening. You know, people might go, well, what? You know, I can't deal with another blow here. I've put all my eggs in this basket. I've built myself up emotionally here. I could go through the screening process, and they could say, no, there's another patient that we might get a better results with, and just face that
they'll never say
setback.
That. They'll never say that.
I'm not about what people might think in their heads in advance of it.
It is. No, you're absolutely right. Very often the oncologist or the hematologist will know, like Dr. Yanis Kraktek knew, that Aidan would be probably a good candidate for that trial. And very often you do know that. Where it becomes tricky is where there are rare, and that trial isn't an example of this, where there are very rare targets within the tumour or within the blood cancer. And we've seen that. We've seen that recently with cervical cancer, where certain drugs worked with some people and didn't work with others because of the PD-1 target. And that's what happens. And it is disappointing. But, you know, that watch and wait happens to a lot of people who are in that space. And
right.
It is. But isn't Aidan's story fantastic? And what really... we've done in Cancer Trials Ireland and Dr. Yanis has that. You know, we have a relationship with the University of Cologne and groups all over the world.
And why would that
bring these trials here?
Do they sort of, like, in other words, they're not finding enough people taking part in trials in Germany, or is there always an international feel to it where they'll have it in various different locations?
You have to have diversity in your trials. So the people who partake in your trials have to be diverse in order for the treatment. Like back 50 years ago, they only had men on clinical trials. Things have changed, you know, women are on them as well.
Probably white men too.
Exactly. And it's diverse. And I think one of the things as well is recruitment is always a challenge. So that's why you organise trials on a global basis. A lot of the trials that we organise in Cancer Trials Ireland we're working with groups all over the world on the same trial.
Okay.
That also ups your game intellectually because you're working with clinicians all over the world.
Right, okay. So as a campaign saying, just ask. Also, there is this webinar. Is it webinar or seminar or blend? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a free webinar. Okay, so it's taking place on between 2 and 3 on May the 20th. That's on Saturday. In the afternoon. Tomorrow, is it? Is it the
Friday?
19th?
Yeah,
oh, my
it's
word.
on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can register by emailing info@cancertrials.ie. If someone wants to just go onto a website and just have a look around, I'm sure there might be testimonials there or other information or whatever. What's the URL?
Come to cancertrials.ie, and if you just log on to that tomorrow, you'll get straight on to the webinar. All of our trials are listed on cancertrials.ie with lay summaries. So if you've got cancer and you're sitting at home or your family do, have a look at that. If you see something that looks like you could be involved in it, go to your doctor and talk about the trial.
Right.
Because that's what we're here for.
Thanks for all your
so
time.
much,
I appreciate
Aidan
it.
and Greg, thanks a million.
Right, take care. Have a good day. Rightio. We'll be back with more after this.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union. 9102127.
Is your Skoda a little older? Pre-loved, perhaps? What adventures, I wonder, did it have in the past? Another family, another life, bright city lights, or a quiet country existence seeing Ireland's best sights? We don't really need your car's story. With a Skoda service, you get a complete vehicle health check, genuine Skoda parts, and free roadside assistance for 12 months.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 07497211396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Live exports soar as new markets beckon. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Israeli market to open for Irish weanlings as beef price heads for €6 a kilo. Dairy cow reduction scheme on the cards. We have the details. We have advice for your silage trailer health check, and we share top tips for sheep dipping and tagging.
Plus, we have all you need to know as a consumer before booking your summer holiday. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
The 21st of May 2022 will mark the 90th anniversary of Amelia Earhart's historic landing in Derry, Londonderry, when she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic solo. A number of events are taking place this weekend, 20th to 22nd of May, to celebrate her legacy. Visit www.derrystrabane.com/what's-on/Amelia Earhart 90 for the programme of events.
Is your car due a service? For the month of May, get your car serviced at iMotors Letterkenny and avail of a free vehicle health check and a free oil change. For more details, check out our website or Facebook. Call us today on 074 913 4567 to book in.
Terms and conditions apply.
This Friday, Around the Northwest is celebrating with a business marking 50 years in Letterkenny. We'll be live from Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, who first opened at Lower Main Street in May of 1972. We'll be chatting about the changes over the years and about Eamon putting his best foot forward so others can too. So join me, John Breslin, live this Friday from 12 on Around the Northwest at Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. Green Party TDs Nessa Horgan and Patrick Costello have had the party whip removed and been suspended for 6 months. The Parliamentary Party agreed to the proposal late last night after the TDs voted against the government in the Dáil. The Green Party chair is Senator Pauline O'Reilly. I'm delighted to welcome her onto the programme. It's a tough one, this, for you, Senator, isn't it? Because, you know, many of you in that letter that that many of the Green Party members signed in April seem to be on the same page. The rest of the signatories had their minds changed, but Nessa and Patrick stuck to their guns, you could say, as watchdogs of the government, which I think was one of her pre-election commitments. And now the punishment is they're out of the party, the Parliamentary Party. Not very fair, is it?
Hi, Greg. Well, this isn't really around punishment. This is because we have a parliamentary whip system in our country, and when you're in a party, you are expected to vote together. And both deputies, I have the utmost respect for, continue to have respect for. But it was a decision, unanimous decision last night to accept the recommendations of the whip, and that was, you know, they were asked to vote in a particular way and vote in a different way. But both were fully aware that there would be sanctions, and indeed we would expect Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to face sanctions if they did the same thing on an issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's what government means, that you do vote together. It's absolutely essential to get your work done in government and to get things over the line. But when it comes to the National Maternity Hospital, we all in the party, in the Green Party, wanted it to be built on public land. That's still the gold standard, but the land simply wasn't for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And you can keep on saying that you want something. 4 ministers later, we need a national maternity hospital, and I think the last 2 weeks have been very good. But also, indeed, the change over the last week or the last month has been that we now see that the lease of the land is for 300 years and not 99
Mm-hmm.
years. It also specifically says that there will be no religious ethos, and that is repeated over and over.
Yeah.
It's
But I mean, you
secular.
wouldn't like you wouldn't if you had 400 grand spare, you wouldn't build your house on my land, would you?
A lot actually of property is on leasehold in Ireland, and indeed in many countries, leasehold is actually a valuable
Even
asset.
with penalties, where you could end up paying huge rent if you don't do precisely what the landowner suggests.
Well, if you're speaking about this particular contract, it's quite clear that it is to have a national maternity hospital on it, and I think that that's very reasonable. If you were to sell your leasehold on to somebody else, and it was to open as something completely different, and you were to get major profits from it, you would expect that the original person who owns the lease would actually want to see that profit. But fundamentally, this is about the fact that Vincent's Hospital want to ensure that their hospital stays there. And right in the middle of that would have been a national maternity hospital that, could go at any stage. That just wasn't
What I don't
viable.
understand
They're
is
shared services.
what I don't understand is that is they sold land before for the location of a HSE facility property, right? What is the big resistance to selling this land? I mean, if you're prepared to give it up for 300 years, what's the resistance to actually selling it unless there is something else going on? I mean, really, who's going to be around in 300 years to worry about whether or not you facilitated full public support for the location of such an important institution? Like, if you're going to give it for 300 years, what's the big resistance to selling over this pocket of land now?
Because if you sell something, you don't know what it's going to be used for. That's really what it is.
So they wanted to control over what this facility was to be used for, and that's why they want to retain the ownership.
As a maternity hospital. And 40% of those who work in Vincent's also work in the maternity hospital. So it's shared services. It's right in the middle of their site, right in the middle of their hospital, essentially. Everything is going to be pretty much shared. So you can kind of understand it from that point of view. That's not to say that the government didn't request that they purchase it. But look, I think
well,
that
no point going over it. It's decided now
no,
anyway.
Exactly.
But I just want to ask you:
exactly.
Are you satisfied that every avenue was explored through this process to not delay it substantially, but to try and come up with a resolution? Are you satisfied that all options were explored?
Completely, and I believe that this is in the best interest of the women of Ireland. I fundamentally believe that. I appreciate that others may not share that, but I think that the majority of people who have heard all of the facts at this stage, the majority of people agree with that point.
Okay.
As I say, not everyone, but that's the way it is in politics. People are going to disagree, but the decision last night was about not necessarily this specific issue. It was about the fact that we need to continue to operate effectively in government. We have been achieving in government some of our recent achievements, such as the 20% reduction in public transport, 50% reduction, our fees, should I say, cost, 50% reduction for those.
If you could just now get us a couple of buses up here that we could ride on and avail of those discounts, that would just be super.
I absolutely agree with you on that. But these are parts of the reasons why it's important for us to be in government and to be at the table. Childcare, we have the minister in relation to childcare, and we want we have that minister. We want to get things over the line, and this is key. To work together.
Okay, just briefly, I know you're busy, a lot of calls I'm sure. Do you know if you can look forward to enjoying the support of Deputies Horrigan and Costello in other important votes which will be coming up? Obviously the majorities is very narrow at this time. Have they indicated what the situation is there, and if they intend then to reapply for membership of the parliamentary party in 6 months' time?
Well, we certainly hope that they do come back into the fold in 6 months. That would be our hope. They're free to vote how they like now. I would certainly hope that they will see the merits, particularly in the budget. We do have a majority still in government, albeit slim, and it's not ideal. It's not where we want to be, but we often find that people do decide to vote with government on issues. But ultimately, we have a unity of purpose in the Green Party. We are committed. We went into government knowing that there are difficult decisions, but in this particular instance, it's absolutely the right decision for the women of Ireland. 4 ministers later, we need a national maternity hospital to be built. So we believe that it's the right decision.
Senator Pauline O'Reilly, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. Have a lovely day. Okay, take care. Right, so we put up a couple of snap polls on our social media, particularly Twitter and also on Instagram. And we were asking the question, based on what we've been talking about today and for weeks now and for eternity, does moving to the northwest of Ireland mean accepting lesser healthcare services? Now, before I read out the answers to that, what I thought was quite interesting was that we have spoken to people living in Belgium, for example, which has a very good health service. And it was a woman, maybe a family, who wanted to move back to Donegal, but they didn't or couldn't move back to Donegal because of the health service. Their health service was so good in Belgium, I think it was Belgium, they couldn't move back to Donegal because they didn't trust the health service here. Well, anyway, does moving to the northwest of Ireland mean accepting lesser healthcare services? On Twitter, 93% of you believe so, 7% says it does not. A commenter on it shouldn't, but it does. On Instagram, 50 says it does, 50% says it does not. So there's always a variance between those two social media platforms. Right, okay. Paul Lennon is football correspondent with the Irish Daily Star. He joins us now. Thanks for your time today, Paul. I appreciate it greatly.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay. Talk to us about this Garda investigation, this major development then in it over the last day or two.
Yes, early yesterday morning, mainly in the south of the country, and there was one incident in Dublin. 10 people were taken into custody by the Gardaí to help them with allegations into match fixing in League of Ireland games, dating back 3 years. Last night, 5 of the 10 people detained were released, and a further 4 were released this morning. So, the best of our knowledge, one person is still detained about this. The investigation dates back, as I say, to 2019, possibly earlier, into suggestions that in a small number of League of Ireland matches, that there was influence sought to be exerted by players and by 1 or 2 people outside of the playing staff of a certain club to try and influence how a game ended.
And obviously they would have spotted unusual betting patterns. That would have been flagged. They would see the bookmakers have very, very intuitive algorithms that can pick this stuff up. But I presume there has to be some sort of a chain of evidence. I'd imagine it might be quite difficult to prove based on, what you think might have happened, Paul.
Yeah, that's the
not Paul, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Right. I am Paul, sorry, yeah. Beg your pardon.
Yeah. The $64 million question, and you're right, as I've mentioned that in today's Star, is that over the years I've come across, and other people in the game and the media have come across suggestions and speculation that there's been match fixing going on. And I've been sceptical of a lot of these, but I also would believe that at certain terms, yes, there's a substance to the allegations. But I go back, as I said today in the paper, 5 years ago, there were allegations of match fixing at a Lone Town football club. That did not go to the Garda Síochána. The Garda Síochána felt that there wasn't enough evidence for them to investigate. Now, within football, within the FAI's rules, the FAI charged 2 players at Athlone with seeking to influence the outcome of a game for nefarious reasons. Both were found guilty, but one appealed and won his case. And that shows you that, as you say, it's very hard, Greg, to get evidence on this issue. Yes, when certain betting patterns come up on bookie screens, the red lights start flashing in their HQs, and there's all sorts of red flags go up, the FAI, the FA, the SFA, all football authorities are then notified if the bookies believe that there's odd sort of sequences of betting going on in certain matches.
And a lot of these people probably are, go about their daily life relatively normally. I suppose you arrest an awful lot of people. You could probably progress an investigation better if one of those wants to clear their conscience or has some information. I'm not saying that as it relates to anyone arrested as part of the investigation, but I imagine that would be a key for progressing this for Gardaí.
Yes, it would be, because going back to what you've said and I've said, Greg, is that getting the evidence is very difficult. So if you got someone who wanted to so-called to fess up, to maybe make a clean break, that would be the best way. Or else you need somebody who's closely involved or allegedly closely involved to give really hard, concrete evidence. Because again, it's interesting that nobody in this country has ever been charged with match fixing, never mind convicted of match fixing in the courts of law in this country.
All right.
So I think that shows you how difficult it
the
is.
challenge. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can continue to read your coverage of this and into the future in the Irish Daily Star. Paul Lennon, football correspondent with that paper. Thanks so much this morning. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Paul. Have a great day. We'll come back with the weather forecast.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
As we move into spring, it's time that we look after what is precious to us. Are you struggling with your hearing? Your hearing is an essential part of your everyday living. Hearing is our social sense and connects you to friends and family. At Connect Hearing, we are here for you with our clinics at Courtyard Shopping Centre, Letterkenny and Joyce's Chiropody Clinic in Dunlow. Our centres are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Buy now and then split your payment over 3 months, interest-free, with Klarna at Tinny's Toys, Letterkenny. Now that the evenings are longer, there's loads of great ideas for outdoor fun at Tinny's, like pedal and battery ride on tractors, cars and jeeps. Also a great range of outdoor toys like swings and slides now in stock. Shopping made easy with Klarna at Tinny's Toys, Leck Road, Letterkenny, and at tinnystoys.com for express delivery or click and collect.
Your energy savings start right here, right now with Bord Gosh Energy. New and existing customers can save up to €974 with our best dual fuel offer. Find out more at boardgoshenergy.ie. Discount on our standard unit rates for 12 months with fixed term dual fuel contract. Annual savings figure compared to BGE standard rates. Offer available to new and existing single fuel customers. Unit rate and standing charge apply. See boardgoshenergy.ie for EAB prices and full T's and C's.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to beautiful Mallorca every Friday this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best beaches. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
Now, loads and loads of you have contacted the show. Thanks so much for that. But so many so that we can't get through all the comments, today. But we will catch up on them tomorrow, particularly on the issue of the services at Letterkenny University Hospital. But to give you the weather, today is going to continue mainly dry with some sunny spells. The odd scattered shower around too, though. Temperatures 15 to 17 degrees, and those winds will be fresh and gusty and much stronger on the coasts. Tonight, mainly dry. Rain will develop, though, in the west and become widespread towards morning. Heavy in places. Lowest temperatures through the night, 7 to 9 degrees. So we do have a little bit of time here now to go through some of your comments. I've been waiting for nearly 4 weeks for a CT scan. I'm getting mixed reports as to if I can actually get one because of my pacemaker. Can someone let me know if I can actually get a CT scan with a pacemaker? Hi, Greg. People laugh at Boris Johnson lying all the time. Are our politicians any different? Hi, Greg. Ireland is finished. It's becoming like you would have to be a millionaire to live in it. If I tell my 3 children every week when they become the age, get the hell out of this country, it's just pay, and a new law every month. Thanks. Greg, the government don't want to know about Donegal because we're no good to them when it comes to elections. They feel Donegal people are geared more towards the Sinn Fein camp. I think we think for ourselves. I don't think we necessarily... I think just we're free thinkers up here. All right, that's where we have to leave it on the show.